morning from San Francisco, California, where it is currently 6:30 in the morning. Welcome to you from wherever you are watching in the world. Very early morning for me, but for some of your drivers currently on track right now, I'm sure they've been waiting for this day to get coming. The first race of the 2020 Nurburgring Endurance Championship in iRacing. And what a treat we have here. One of the strongest fields I can actually remember in VLN recent history in iRacing. Last year, not the greatest year for the series, if we're being totally honest. But across the board here, we have strong teams who have shown up in every single class. 5 classes going to be on show for you here today. Out front, your SP9 classes, they are called in the real life series. They consist of the GT3 cars, and here you're going to get to see 3 German GT3 cars, the BMW Z4, the Audi R8 GT3, and the Mercedes, although I do not believe there are actually any cars or any teams registered in the Mercedes in this session. Then you have the SP7s, your second fastest class, the 911 Cup class, very popular class of racing across the world. And your third fastest class, currently riding on board with Carly Jansen from Core Sim Racing in their Porsche 718 Cayman GT4 as he puts himself into pole position with an 8:30.318. So the GT4 cars about almost 50 seconds slower over the course of a lap compared to those GT3 cars. You've got some very strong drivers such as Carl Jansen currently in the car. We're going to switch over to your next class. Tim Greven currently come around the last corner in your 4th fastest class, the Audi RS3 TCR. Tim has not put in the time yet, so let's see what he's going to do and where he's going to place himself in the field. And the Simsa Esports driver puts himself into 10th position, qualifying with a 8:49.46. So your slowest GT4 drivers only a few seconds off the pace of your fastest TCR drivers. So it will be interesting to see how those two classes intermingle as the race goes on. Then, of course, not last but not least, your final class. We're currently riding on board with Paweł Szminak. I'll get some of these names better as I do wake up, guys. Your Mazda class back by popular demand. Initially left off the entry list, but glad to see it coming back. Still got 8 minutes to go here in this qualifying session. A few more cars begin to make their way over the line. When the clock strikes 30 minutes, all cars will immediately disappear from the track, virtual track, as we watch George Timmons from Apex Racing move himself up into 5th position in class. 57 cars are going to be taking the start of this race. Full grid, basically. 60 cars was the max available grid size, so good to see a nice solid turnout and such a strong field as well. We are now at the point, guys, where most of these guys, if they're not on a flying lap, they're not going to really have a chance to be able to get across the start-finish line. You see, I think Tim Greven right now, George Simmons, who we're riding on board, is going to try and reset and do one more, but I do not think he's got enough time. So let's go and ride on board with some GT3 drivers. Chris Cornelis, driver Radical Online 6 Sideways, currently going through the beginning of the Nordschleife, working his way towards the Flugplatz. Fabrice taking a little break from sim racing, but coming back, joining Radical Online. He's already done a few races in SEO with the team. Let's see how his first VLN race his new team goes. Juani Nunez, driver from Torque Freak Racing, coming across the line in your BMW, trying to make himself the fastest BMW driver in the session, but currently not able to do that. 7:47.21, his best effort. Your pole position man, Alex Arana for Williams Esports BenQ at 7:43.6. Let's go and ride on board with Alex Arana as he does come across the line. What's he going to do this time around? 7:43.28, he goes better, and now leading from his teammate by 1.2 seconds, who also seems to be going on a lap. We haven't ridden much on board with some Porsche Cup guys, so let's try and do that. I think I'm a bit late to ride on board with Johan Harth, your current pole sitter. Robert Harris from Team Tortuga going towards your last corner. Very minimal downforce in these cars, and you can see, you will see rather later in the race just how much straight line speed this car has compared to even your GT3 cars, your fastest cars overall. Robert Harris, in 8:05, moves himself up into 7th place. Let's go take a look at someone who was, well, I thought he was on track, but unfortunately not. So let's go and move over to another driver. Switch to Tim Greven, Simsa Esports driver, currently in 10th position. He showed good pace in Winter BLN, and I think he'll be disappointed currently with where his qualifying performance is. Again, a big change this year. No longer splitting by qualifying times this series. Before, you used to have all week to put in your best lap, and you have an infinite amount of opportunities to put in that perfect flying lap. But right now, these drivers only got 30 minutes, and with such a long lap, that really does not give you too many opportunities to put in that perfect lap. But again, you have to remember, it is a 4-hour race. Qualifying is not everything. Although I am sure a lot of these drivers would want to put themselves in a good starting position to avoid any type of carnage that may ensue. Right on board with Scott Michaels from R4R Motorsport, another team that I am familiar with from Winter BLN. To give you guys some background on myself and why I am a good commentator for this series, I've been a regular competitor in BLN, as it's been called in the past, for a number of years now. I've in fact won a few of these top split races, not when we had this level of competition, of course, but still when we had good levels of competition, as R4R Motorsports put themselves currently at 7th position in the GT3 field. So Scott Michaels putting in a time with just under 3 minutes going to be left on the clock. I don't think he's going to get beaten right now, so going to be pretty happy with that. I'm going to switch back to Carl Jansen, the driver from Core Sim Racing. You can see just how sideways he got there, or at least how much input he's having to put. These new tires are a lot more slidey than the old tires. All cars in this new series are on the new tire model. So we are going to see, quickly take a look at your weather right now. That's what we'll do as a lot of these drivers come across the line for the final time. It's a relatively cold session, 19 degrees Celsius and 21 degrees track temperature. That might mean that it's going to take a few laps for tire temperature to come up for these drivers, and maybe turn 1 is going to be a problem for some drivers who maybe are trying to attack and gain positions, don't yet have confidence in the tires. So let's see what's going to happen. Something also we should note, we're going to switch to an outside camera. I've been trying to use inside cameras for a very specific reason. You can see just how much fog there is on the track. We are at, in iRacing terms, 100% fog. The simulator cannot produce any more fog. And so for these drivers, there's going to be some camera angles. If I go to the blimp cam, for example, you literally cannot see the car. So it's going to be interesting for us trying to call this race. It's also going to be very interesting for some of your competitors who's not going to be able to see people further in the distance now. 100% fog is definitely not as bad as it used to be a few years ago. 100% fog used to be almost undrivable. Here you can still see a good 150 meters in front of you. Maybe not being able to see the competitors in front of you, maybe you won't be pushing as hard. So, interesting to see how it does go. As we ride on board Carl Jansen, currently in pole position, the driver from Sweden, plugging the left-hand side of the Dr. Ho. I'm just going to let you guys listen to his engine noise for the next 30 seconds as he comes across the line to finish this qualifying session. Core Sim Racing going slightly better, an 8:29, 8:05. Now pole position by 2.2 seconds in that GT4 field. They're going to be very happy with that performance. See if we can find anyone else still on the track right now. George Simmons currently going back onto the Nordschleife. Maybe there are other cars who are just coming around to finish the lap, so let's quickly go around and take a look. Alex Arana going midway through the lap towards Mutterkurve. We've got 10 seconds left. I don't think anyone else is going to get a lap in. So what we're going to do is take this opportunity, guys, to go over your starting grid for this race. First off, in your GT3 class, it's a William Esports front row lockout. Alex Arana taking pole with a 7:43.2 next to his teammate Moreno Surica. Then you got Tommaso Calza for Movano in third place, and his Movano teammate Maxime Briant in fourth. Then Sebastian Schmallenbach, Ronnie Nunez, Scott Michaels for Walkenhorst Motorsport, I may have missed his team before. Then you got Fabrice Cornelis, Sergi Materna, and then Mirko Bortolotti, the real-life GT3 driver, making a VLN debut. Not going to be too happy with his qualifying, though. Then in the 911 Cup class, it's Maxim Reimstein for HM Engineering from Johan Harth, racing for Gugno Race Team. Then Martin Asher, your sim racing hardware producer, in third position. Then Griffin Gardner, Michael Healy, who I saw yesterday, qualified in pole position in the earlier time slot. Matthias Dehane, Marcus Girac, Robert L. Harris, Yuri Castori, Loren Benzo, Peter Mikus, Philip Machine. Then moving into your GT4s, Carly Jansen, we saw him with an 8:29 qualifying out pole by 2 seconds. And Patrick Hahn in second place for Huber Esports. Then Camilla Pezzoli, Christian Bug, Diego Catalan, Mirko Nitimaki, Miko Ruskala, Govan Kini, Sasha Gorley, Manuel Sudau for the first RSO car that we see in this field. Then Tom Valentini for SimRC, and Mad Gravson. Moving back to your TCRs, it will be Jack Sedgwick for SimuCube NX Racing taking the pole, from Max Esterton Racing, with Mark Elkman, the first Team Redline car, in third position. We're going to keep moving, guys. We're going to run out of time. 12 cars in your TCR field, but moving back to your MX5s, it's Antti Levskola, who's going to be on pole from Pavel Schminak. Casper DeCourt is going to qualify in third position for your MX5s, and we're going to have a total of 12 MX5s as well, so a good, healthy field of MX5s for us to watch today. As the cars start to pull away, we'll quickly just go over the race details. Again, guys, this is the Nurburgring Endurance Series. My name is Arjuna. If you don't follow me on Twitch, go follow that link. I do regular race streaming there. This is the first race of the Nurburgring Endurance Championship, obviously coming to you from the famous Nurburgring Nordschleife. These races happen on Sundays at 1 AM and 1 PM GMT. The full schedule for the races can be found on the iRacing forums. This is one of the strongest fields we have had ever, so it is going to be very interesting to see what happens. Alex Arana will lead your field to the green flag here. Hopefully to get us away for a good 4 hours of racing. We're going to try and filter our way back to see your other classes as well as they do get started, but we're going to focus on this GT3 battle. I have a feeling some of these names out front, 2 William Esports cars, 2 Movano cars, 2 Radihills cars, there's going to be some good fighting out here up front. As we get going, I heard some contact, and you can see just how foggy it is, and I think Alex Arana already starting to do some weaving to get his tires up to temperature. That's right from the gearboxes. You can see Movano, I believe that's Dion Fallow in the BMW, trying to make his way around the outside of the William Esports Fanatic car, but not able to get the move done, as they all cleanly make their way through turn 1 for the first time. Let's quickly switch back now to your 911 Cup cars, diving down into turn 1. Johan Harth in the lead, taking it away from Maxime Reisstein, who qualified on the pole position. They're all the way cleanly though, so let's go back to look at your GT4 class now. Carly Jansen with a good start, and Patrick Hahn slipping into that drop very early, as they go too wide, too deep down the inside. I believe Camilo Pelosi did hold on to that place. Christian Bug trying to get the move done, but nothing happening there. Moving back to what is your smallest field, in fact, surprisingly, your TCR class. This is the class that actually is going to produce some of the best racing in terms of draft effect. But when you only have a few cars, excuse me, there are 12 cars in that class. They've just now been separated quite largely, I believe. We ride on board with Jack Sedgwick, qualified in pole position and continues to lead this race. Out front though, Movano Sim Racing car, Dion Fallow, holding third position, the first of those BMWs. The Radicals Online track racer car. That's the car that's moved up one place now. The driver in that car, Sebastian Schmalenbach, former Pure Racing team driver, now racing for Radicals Online. Let's see what he can do. BMW is going to have a little less top-end performance compared to your Audis. Still, your BMW is going to be very quick in the mid part of the track where there are some very tight and twisty corners. Again, the fog is going to make it difficult, guys, to really see what's going on, I think, at times, and which car is which. But try and use some of these onboard cameras that we are very fortunate to be able to have. We're going to ride on board from the cockpit of Sebastian as we're going to see exactly what he's seeing. Cockpit of the Audi R8 GT3 V10. Actually see Dion starting to slowly pull away here. Dion slowly losing these top two drivers. The William Esports teammates trying to make a run for it here and get a nice healthy lead to start this race off. And the second Movano car, Movano Sim Racing 72 car, currently being driven by Max and Grin, is right on the tail of this Radicals Online car. So the Audi currently in a BMW sandwich. Let's move further back in your field right now. Some good fighting, I think, happening. Your 911 Cup class, you have three cars currently making a break for it. Johan Harth, typically racing for Apex Racing Team, currently racing for Guggenau Racing Team. Qualified second, but currently leading this race. HM Engineering falling to second. And Martin Asher doing a great job to hold on to third. We've got Burst Esport behind him and some other really strong teams. But Martin Asher known more, I think, for his sim racing hardware. He has an excellent range of wheels, wireless racing wheels for SimuQ2. Doing a great job here to hold on to third. Showing he's got some good pace compared to some of these guys. And unfortunately, guys, I think what we figured out is that there are going to be some technical limitations during this broadcast. Because of some iRacing issues, we are going to have to try and keep the leader of the overall race within our sights for the most part. And without having all the cars on the track, it is going to be difficult for us to follow the stories further back in your field. But we are going to do our best as cars retire from this race to try and focus on your battles happening in MX-5 class, because there are battles. It's not that there are not battles happening back in MX-5 class. Good battles are happening though as they make their way, I think, up towards Bravery here for the first time. Mirko Bortolotti is up into 8th position right now. He's past Sergei Matanura and Ronnie Nunez. Ronnie Nunez falling 4th position. Maybe some contact, Ronnie Nunez. You can see him having to brake here. He's got a lot of pace, and maybe he's going to be frustrated, stuck behind some of these slower drivers. You can see two BMWs looking to try and pass this Audi. Mirko Bortolotti, obviously with a lot of real-life racing experience. I wonder how that just will translate into this virtual racing environment when things are a little bit different. Obviously, you're not going to question his pace. He's one of the fastest drivers of that Lamborghini car. The Audi R8 obviously not too dissimilar to Volkswagen Group brand, but as we saw yesterday, I have people like Alexander Rossi in that IndyCar iRacing Challenge race really struggling to get up to speed with the different challenges that sim racing does throw at these drivers. Whereas a driver yesterday, for example, like Will Power or even Scott Speed, never having really done much IndyCar, even if he has done some Formula One racing in the past, having a very strong showing until an unfortunate incident, running 4th in that race in front of drivers like Scott McLaughlin, Will Power, Joseph Newgarden, Alexander Rossi, for example. There's some really strong names he was in front of and showed some good pace. This battle continues to stay close. A little further back, Sebastian Schmalenbach still having to hold off Maxime Bryant in that second Movano car, the yellow Movano car. Scott Michaels just hanging out at the back here. I believe he'll be hoping to maybe use the draft. Now that we are about to come around to complete our first lap, we're actually going to move a little further back. There is some great racing still happening in the Porsche Cup class. Dominic Ferraris from Australia in that Trick Esports Green Hell car. The 048, currently in 6th position. He's right on the back of Matthias Dehene, trying to get a move done. Robert Harris also right on the back of this pack from Team Tortuga. He's up 1 place. He actually got a move done a few corners ago to move past Marcus Girac. Now there are some good battles going on in TCR class. I do want to try and focus on them, so let's go ahead and try and do that. See how this goes, what it does to our overlay. It does start to mess things up, but you see Jack Sedgwick still out front from Apex Racing. George Simmons, who's up 3 places so far. Great performance from George. But like I said, some great battling still happening in your TCR class. We're going to jump back though to the front of your field. Alex Arana, if we can find him, just to make sure that you guys are seeing as he comes around to finish this first lap of the race. He's already got a 2-second lead over his teammate Moreno Sorica in the number 20 Audi R8 Williams Esports Fanatic car. But a 7:47.397 after qualifying with a 7:43 for the first lap to be that quick. Very impressive driving from Alex right now. Let's quickly start talking about the pit strategy for this race. Now your GT3 cars are going to do about an hour. Some of these guys are going to be looking to do a little bit of fuel saving to extend their stint 1 more lap to go beyond the hour. But you can't really do much more than that, so expect 3 pit stops for all of these cars. Wait, is that 3 pit stops? 1 at the end of the first hour, 2nd hour, 3rd hour. I believe that's correct. So 3 pit stops. Then your Porsche Cup cars. Let's move back. Johan Huff still leading after taking lead from Maxime Reinstein, but they go side by side around turn 2. Johan Huff going quite deep. Martin Ramstein giving back the position, or at least being smart and lifting a little bit, and Martin Asher also having to lift a little bit there. These guys have a few second lead over Griffin Gardner in the Burst Esport car. But these drivers are going to go about a lap longer than your GT3 cars, and they're not that much lower, so expect them to be pitting around the 75-minute mark. Some of these drivers in these cold weather conditions, maybe they will try to play a little bit of alternate strategy with their tires. Maybe some drivers not choosing to take tires in certain pit stops. Let's see how that does play out. Moving back to your GT4 class, Carly Jansen still leading, but Patrick Hahn doing a good job here to hold on after qualifying almost 2 seconds behind. Still only 1 second as they come around to complete that first lap. Now these GT4 cars are going to do between 80 to 90 minutes depending on how they fuel save and how much draft these guys are in. So it will be interesting to see how the pit strategy plays out here, as we're going to switch back out front just to follow your leader and ensure the overlay does not go crazy, guys. But talking about your final 2 classes, you've got your TCR class, obviously. A very popular class, and your TCR class will again do about 90 minutes on fuel. Now you could see some interesting things happening on the fuel strategy there. It's not fuel strategy, but tire strategy there. Maybe cars choosing not to take rear tires, which are not abused that much compared to the front tires. Obviously, TCR cars being a front-wheel drive car, you are putting a lot of wear on those tires, putting power and steering through them. But maybe we'll see some alternate strategies. And last but not least, guys, your MX5 class. Again, looking at around a similar 90-minute pit window. But for all 3 of your slower classes, your GT4, TCR, and MX5 classes, assume that if cars are in the draft, they are going to be able to save a little bit more fuel. And even if they can't do an extra lap, maybe that decreased fuel time in the stop will gain them some track position. The pit strategy, guys, is going to be important. And with 57 cars on track, it's going to be hard for us to keep track here. Maxime Briant, we're going to ride on board. He's still pressuring Sebastian Schmalenbach. You can still see Dion Fiallo. He's not pulled away too far from this little group. They are slowly losing those two William Esports drivers. The gap now up to 8 seconds to the leader for Dion. Sorry, excuse me. As I do notice, Mirko Bortolotti back to the rear of this GT3 field. I do have to assume, based on this relative strength of field, it's a very strong strength of field across every single class. I think it's above 5K basically for every single class except your MX-5. I have to assume that Mirko Bortolotti, with only 2.5K I rating, has a teammate who may jump into that car at some point. And DB1 Triton Racing has some very good GT3 drivers in their ranks. So maybe DB1 Triton are going to come on strong towards the end of this race. Obviously, Mirko Bortolotti not having any real racing to do at this time. You can actually just hear, sorry to deviate from my train of thought, but Maxime Briant doing a lot of fuel saving there behind Sebastian Schmalenbach. I think he is definitely the fastest driver right now, and as they move their way towards Mutterkurve, towards Bravery Corner, I think he might try and have a brave little send. It's a little hard to get the move done here. He looks towards the outside, and you hear him have to lift and get out of the throttle. The car's sliding a little bit too much, and I think Maxime Briant's going to start getting frustrated here as he sees his teammates start to pull away. Scott Michaels also only a few tenths of a second behind Maxime Briant, pushing him right to the bumper of Sebastian Schmalenbach. And you have to assume, I think that maybe Maxime can find a way to get the move done. He's going to try and be aggressive to do that. Try and find a better camera angle, work around the fog. And you can also actually see Fabrice Cornelis in that second Radicals Online car is not too far behind. The second Radicals Online Audi. There are some great battles happening elsewhere in the field though, guys. Porsche 911 Cup class, Dominic Ferraris pressuring Matthias Dehaney very hard as they try to go. He looks to the inside of Mutterkurve, and I think unfortunately both of them go off. And there's the big incident that I was afraid about. Dominic Ferraris going end over end. Very unfortunate. I believe, unfortunately, that might have been his fault. We're going to have to try and ride on board. He looked, we're going to have to rewind just a little bit more, guys. I apologize. He looked to the inside and there was never the move really there. Just clipped Matthias Dehaney in front of him, coming back across the track and getting clipped from behind. And I think that will be terminal damage. They do have a fast repair, but it's going to take a considerable amount of time to get this car back into pit lane. You can see the car currently in pit lane. We're going to wait for it to come back. But we'll switch back to the drivers and let our overlay catch up with the action that has been happening. The main action still happening in the 911 Cup class, though, I believe, is now this battle here between Martin Asher and Maxime Reinstein. Johan Haas slowly trying to pull away, but not able to very much get a considerable amount of a gap here. He's going to be hoping for a mistake from both of these drivers behind him. Unfortunately, that last incident that we saw has taken several drivers out of the contention for this race. I've seen a lot of comments, guys, over the last few days about how, with all the interest in sim racing, people wish that we could use some of these angles that you can't get in the real life cars. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to take a look again at the cockpit view. Martin Asher, you can see how Maxime Reinstein in the HM Engineering 959 car in front closed up just a little bit more on Johan Harth, going through those Beloff S's. And he's very close as they get back onto the Dottinger Ho. So are Sebastian Schmalenbach and Maxime Briant, but we're going to stick with this battle here because you have three cars separated by less than half a second going back onto the Dottinger. These are your fastest cars in a straight line. If you see the GT3 cars trying to pass the 911 Cup cars on the Dottinger Ho, you will see that the 911 Cup cars actually have to lift to let the GT3 cars go. And we're going to see Maxime Reinstein making a move to the outside. They still appear to be side by side though, guys. Neither driver has cleared them. Is someone going to have to lift as they make their way down into the last corners? Owen Ray. I butchered that name, guys. I apologize, but Martin Asher thinking about getting in on the action here as well. What a battle this is! Three-way fight as we head into the last corner to complete the third lap of the race. It's a three-way fight for first in your 911 Cup class. We're going to move back forward, guys, because this battle for fourth place in the GT3 class continues to be the hot battle in GT3. Sebastian Schmalenbach holding off Maxime Briand as Dion Fiallo in that first Movano 334 car, beginning to pull away ever so slightly. The two William Esports cars out front, however, a considerable gap. It's now 10 seconds from that leading William Esports BenQ car of Alex Arana to Dion Fiallo, and that gap slowly going up. We're going to go ahead, take a look at the gearbox view of Dion Fiallo, and you can see that train of cars slowly making their way onto the Nordschleife for the third time. Sorry, this is the third lap of the race, guys. They've done 2 complete circuits. We're 20 minutes into the race now. These drivers still got 3 hours and 20 minutes to go. We missed a pass for the lead, guys, in 911 Cup class. There was some action that just happened. I believe we're going to have to go back and take a look at it. I think Maxime Reinstein now no longer in this battle for first. Martin Asher out front by himself. Looks like it was heading down into turn 1. I think Maxime Reinstein getting a little deep on the brakes, and Johan Hart also just getting a little too deep, unfortunately sending him around. So we're going to take a look again from the onboard view here of Johan Hart, because that's who I meant to ride on board with. And you can see, I think both cars just struggling to get the braking performance that they needed at the very slightest of touch. No damage even, it appears, to either car. That's enough to do permanent lasting damage to Maxime Reinstein's race chances. After qualifying in pole position, he will not be too happy with that at all. Switch back live, Johan Hart now 1.2 seconds behind Martin Asher. Maybe this is the opportunity that Martin Asher needs to try and get that place. We're going to switch back, guys. There are more battles happening. Fabrice Cornelis and Ronnie Nunez going hard at it. Ronnie Nunez obviously falling several positions down at the start, had to make his way back past Sergio Matanura and Mirko Bortolotti. He has done that successfully. Now working on Fabrice Cornelis. Ronnie Nunez having a very strong fight back here and showing the kind of pace that he does have. You see a little bit of damage, I think, on the left side as well of that rear wing of Ronnie Nunez. So maybe a little bit of damage affecting him. Maybe he can get that fixed without needing to use his fast repair in about 40 minutes time when he comes down onto pit lane. So not much action happening now in many of your classes. You could go back to your GT4 class, and I want to try and do that. As you can see here, we do have a 3-car train. It's going to affect our low overlay, unfortunately, but Mikko Ruskula for Glacier Racing. Racing for Finland, another team I'm fairly familiar with from Winter VLN, having a strong race here in top split official Nurburgring endurance racing, leading from Mikko Nitimaki, I believe I said that correctly, and Diego Catalan. So you have the 5th, 6th, and 7th place cars here. Glacier Racing, Black Star Racing, and Dream Factory Paneco. Fairly big teams on the roadside things. In front of teams such as SimRC, DE, and Prologue React, you're going to be very happy with their performance so far. They are not too far behind your leaders, to be completely honest. If they've been fighting hard, I can very well explain some of the gaps that they have to your leader, Carly Janssen. We're going to switch back out front, guys, just to appease our overlay. Does not very much like it when we do this, going back and forth throughout the field. Your leader, Alex Arana, guys, continuing to dominate this race out front. 4 seconds in front of his teammate Moreno Sarica. What we're going to do, in fact, there are some battles happening further in the field. We're going to ride on board Ronnie Nunez as he works on the driver Frenis Polias. As they work their way towards the carousel, I think Ronnie actually almost had a chance there, but playing the long game, he still has 3 hours, 40 minutes to go. He does not want to make a risky move and put himself further in a hole as he gets slightly on the curb, and that's the effect of the new tire model here, guys, and that's going to bring Sergei Matanura back into this battle as well. You can see that driver in the purple BMW closing in on Ronnie Nunez. If you put a single tire onto the grass now, guys, it really can affect everything. You can really lose all sense of grip in the car. Ronnie Nunez doing a good job to hold on to the car. He's going to get back to work, trying to get back onto the rear of Brice Cornelius. We're going to switch now to Maxime Briant, still working on Sebastian Schmalenbach. The Radicals online track racer car has been able to hold that fourth position very strongly from him. Currently splitting the two Movado cars. What we're going to do, guys, is go on board for a little bit. Some fan immersion. I'm going to shut up for maybe a full lap, in fact, and let you guys just see exactly what's happening. There's not too much action happening in... There is that, okay, that's a bold-faced lie. There is a lot of action that's happening, but we cannot reliably show you that, unfortunately, due to iRacing limitation, guys. Again, I want to stress, it's not my overlay's fault. Like, the overlay is performing exactly as it needs to do. Unfortunately, iRacing has a bug with its car count system to run max car counts, which produce some truly insufferable results for you guys on stream. So we're working around that and trying to produce the best broadcast we can. So here we go, one lap on board with Maxime Briant. Welcome back, guys. In the time that I was gone, you saw Maxime Bryant work his way past Sebastian Schmallen back there. An incident happened also in the background. Fabrice Cornelis, that second Radicals Online driver, he has crashed his car, unfortunately, going into the Hadsenbach, and that is going to be a very big impact. And that will require one of his fast pairs. We're going to take another look at that, guys. That was a very big incident. You can see just how damaged the steering is. You can see the amount of commitment that Fabrice puts into that corner, right on the edge of the limit, pushing just as hard as he can and just over the limit, just a little bit on the grass and hard sideways into the wall. Fortunately, that was not the driver's side. You can see just how damaged that car is, unfortunately, and I believe for Fabrice, he will need to bring it in this lap. He may even have just towed it from there, and I think, yes, making the smart choice to tow the car back to pit lane. Let's go back out front. Let the overlay catch up a little bit, guys. Alex Arana now leading by 5.5 seconds from his William Esports teammate Moreno Surica. He's got a 16-second lead to that first Movano car. Movano now having a 1 and 2 in your GT3 class. Alex Arana, guys, an absolutely fantastic drive so far. He's just absolutely been dominating this race, not leaving anything to chance. We're going to move back in your field, though, to your Porsche 911 Cup car. Johan Hart has now slipped to third. Griffin Gardner in the first eSport car, 911 car, the 911 numbered car, is what I was trying to say. Johan Hart now has Maxime Reinstein right on his tail. Maybe Maxime Reinstein going to think about getting a little bit of bumper return that bumper tap that he got going into turn 1 from Johan Hart. It did look to me very accidental. I don't believe Johan meant to do that intentionally. That did cost Maxime quite a bit of time. Interesting to note, Johan Hart now 8 seconds behind Martin Asher out front in your 911 Cup class. I wonder what exactly has happened here. May have missed some kind of incident as Johan Hart looking to the inside of Griffin Gardner as they go through Bravery. Too wide. We saw this once before in the 911 Cup, and they get through safely this time around. I think Johan Hart has managed to take that corner. Very impressive to get the drive on the inside there. Well, good to see how safe those two drivers were able to go around Bravery, a corner where we've already seen a big incident before involving these same cars. We also, I think, apparently missed an incident with Ronnie Nunez, guys. Ronnie Nunez now has fallen back in your GT3 field, no longer in front of Sergei Matanura. And Mirko Bortolotti continuing to run that car. Might not have the greatest race pace compared to someone like Alex Arana, but I don't think you can really complain too much about still being in 8th position, still having a fairly clean car at this point. What I would like to try and do now, guys, I want to try and highlight some of these battles further back in your field. And I think we might be able to do that now as these cars start to get spread out. Obviously, we are limited by some iRacing limitations, guys, so there is only so much that we can do. For example, some battles still in your TCR class. George Simmons right on the tail of your pole position winner, Jack Sedgwick. These guys have been going tooth and nail for the entire stint, and you've got to remember, I mentioned it at the start when it came to full windows, the TCR cars, very, very powerful draft for these cars, and for both for both George Simmons and Max Esterin in that Vendaval Sim Racing blue car in 3rd place, they are going to be able to be saving that extra bit of fuel that Jack Sedgwick out front is not going to have any chance to do. Jack Sedgwick, obviously a very, very quick driver, and he's going to have some strategies up his sleeve. Maybe what his plan is to lead for this first stint, and then for the 2nd and 3rd stints, maybe he's planning to run a little bit behind and then make his move late in the race. A close battling in your TCR. You got a group of 3 here. We've also got another group of 2 cars right here. The Team Heiskenveld car of Michael Schottler currently at the wheel. And he's got Shinya Michimi right behind him in the Ronin Simsport. To try and get a better look at this battle, you can see just how close to that rear bumper Shinya is going to get, and you can see him lifting early because this is not the part of the track that you want to get a run. you want to get a run, you want to get it slightly later. You can see here now he's starting to get the run. Still being smart. I think he realizes that to make the move right here into Mutkurver would be a little too risky at this stage of the race with still 3 hours and 30 minutes to go. Happy to stay in 5th position and see how this race unfolds. There's even more happening, action happening further back, guys. We're going to switch that right now. The next car is in your train. Lars Boll. There's a 4-car train here. I did talk about this train effect with the TCRs. Lars Boll currently leading Alex Simnich in a 2nd Bendeval Sim Racing car. Then you got the first Team Redline car down 5 positions. Mark Elkman not having a fun race at all so far. And Audrius Valentigius in his own team currently running in 9th. You've got 2 cars slightly out behind the pack here. Team Greven 17 seconds adrift from the leader and about 6 seconds off this pack right here. And then you got Tech for Track Racing. They're currently sitting about 3 seconds behind the pack and not in that draft train. They're going to struggle to really keep up, I think. Let's just move out front again for a few minutes, guys, and see where the race for your GT3s and Porsche 911 Cup cars is playing out. Alex Arana continuing to build his lead out front. As you see, he starts to get into the MX-5 traffic here as he heads his way through the compressions down towards Ardenau Forest. He gets confused. There's a big miscommunication there between him and a Mazda. He's going to lose a bit of time, but no damage. And I believe this is going to be the story of the race from here on out, guys. You see just how many Mazdas are going to ride on board again with him. He's going to have to make his way through 3 or 4 Mazdas now. They all stick to the left-hand side of the track, and he's clearing them one by one. So we're going to now slightly have to change how we do the broadcast, guys, as cars start to spread themselves out. We're now going to try and focus on class battles as much as we can. So right now, the main class battle is between these 2 Movano cars. We ride on board with Dion Fiallo, running in 3rd place, who had pulled away a little bit from his teammate, who was stuck behind Sebastian Schmalenbach for a number of laps at the start of this race. But since Maxime Briant has been able to get past Sebastian, he's got right onto the tail of Dion Fiallo, and he's putting the pressure on the 334 car. And maybe some team order is going to come into effect at points. You have to think that maybe these guys think that Maxime might have the pace to take it to the 2nd William Esports car of Moreno Surica, who is still only 7 seconds behind the leader. But you have to think an 11-second gap between these 2 Movano cars to that 2nd William Esports car, the first esports car up the track for them. They're going to be thinking that with 30 minutes gone, they want to start making moves. It might be a 3-hour and 30-minute race still to go, guys, but you have to think for a lot of these cars, it is going to be an all-out sprint to the end. And you can see just how much fog there is. And that's not going to affect the drivers so much as it's affecting us and the camera views that you guys are getting. We're going to go back now to your Porsche 911 Cup car race. Johan Haug now slowly pulling away from Griffin Gardner. He got past the driver from Oceano. Now trying to get to work on that 10-second gap that Martin Asher now has out front. Obviously, Johan Haug is a Porsche Esports Super Cup driver. I believe that's what it's called now. The Tag Heuer Porsche Esports Super Cup driver. He's very proficient in this car. So you've got to think someone like Martin Asher, more known for his sim racing hardware, to having an absolutely splendid performance so far to really show just what kind of pace he has. He's not disappointed at all. It's not that he's just been he's not just relied on incidents. He was hanging on pace with both Johan Haug and Maxime Reinstein for the first 3 or 4 laps of the race. And once that incident happened between Johan Haug and Maxime Reinstein, it's been fairly smooth sailing for him. He's pulled out this 10-second gap, and with traffic coming, let's see how that gap will develop. Moving further forward again, though, this three-way fight now. Sebastian Schmalenbach is actually getting onto the rear of the two Movano cars here, and Scott Michaels in that Walking Horse Motorsport car also putting on the pressure. We've got two Audis out front, and then two BMWs running third and fourth. Interesting to see no Mercedes in your field today, guys. You do have a very even balance of BMW and Audi. But as you can see, it's not just about the car. We have the William Esports drivers out front currently leading pretty healthy margin, but then Mirko Bortolotti, a very, very highly respected real race car driver, struggling a bit more on pace in that Audi, currently 41 seconds behind the leader, and 20 seconds behind these first BMWs, so not all about the pace of the car. BOP and iRacing is fairly good at this point with the new tire model. I'm sure everyone has a little bit of improvement that they would love to see, but it might be some of the best GT3 BOP I have seen in a while, especially here at the Nordschleife. Not a great pace for some of these guys to catch an MX-5 car going through the 7 Beloff S's, and that does allow Sebastian Schmallenbach to close up right onto the rear of Maxime Bryant as they continue to work their way through the Mazdas. You see just how much they're having to do as they work their way into the second carousel now. Only one more corner to go before they get to Dottinger Ho. I'm going to try and say this corner name, Galgenkopf. Rate that out of 10, guys. Galgenkopf. They work their way through Galgenkopf, back onto the Dottinger Ho here. Dion Fiallo does pull a little bit of a gap to his teammate Maxime Bryant. We've got Sebastian Schmallenbach now looking very interested. As you can see, guys, very hard for us to actually find some good ways to show you the action happening with the amount of fog going on. It is still Alex Arana who does a 7:51. Now you can see the effects of traffic. His fastest race lap so far has been a 7:48.06. His last lap a 7:51.25. So over 3 seconds a lap slower due to that traffic. And that's going to be something that he now has to deal with for the remainder of this race. It is never going to relent. And this three-way battle up here in your GT3 class. Currently the two Movano cars trying to, I think, not fight too hard and not let Sebastian Schmallenbach behind too into it. And there we go, on the inside, Sebastian Schmallenbach diving to the inside of Maxime Bryant. I wonder if Maxime Bryant had a slowdown there because he was very slow coming off the corner. And Maxime Bryant, we saw just how much pace he had earlier in this race. I am very surprised to see him letting Sebastian Schmallenbach go like that, and he's not gonna go down without a fight. He works around the outside here as they continue around the GP section of the Nurburgring track, looking towards the inside here, and he's going to get the move done. Definitely appears to have been some sort of slowdown, but that does mean Dion Fiallo now 1.3 seconds in front of these two drivers. Maxime Bryant defending the inside as they work their way down into the chicane. As they look to get back onto the Nordschleife for the 6th time this race. He's now going to want to have to close back up onto his teammate. You've got 4 cars here separated by less than 2.5 seconds. Let's go ahead now and quickly take a look at your 911 Cup car battle again. 12 cars in this class. And Martin Asher still leading out front. He's got a 10-second gap over Johan Hart, the Porsche Esports Super Cup driver. Typically racing for Apex Racing Team UK. Today racing for Guggenau Racing Team. Not exactly sure the affiliation there, but racing in that 95 powered by Pixar car, I guess. Lightning McQueen here on the track, showing everyone exactly what he's got. Let's move back one more place because we actually have missed some action, and that's the problem with not being able to follow some of these cars further in the field due to these iRacing limitations. Patrick Hahn, driver from Huber Esports, now up into first, past Carl E. Jansen, your pole position winner, and now leading by 3 seconds. We're going to go and take a look at Carl. Does he maybe have some damage to that car? He does. That front splitter looking very pushed in on that right-hand side. Let's see if we can get a better angle as he works his way towards the second carousel and back onto the Dottinger Ho. Maybe here as he gets closer. Hard to tell, unfortunately, guys, that we're not getting a very good camera angle. You can see just a little bit of damage, I believe, on the nose, the bumper of that car. In fact, not a little bit. I believe that is a significant amount of damage. If we're going to switch back to Patrick Hahn, you can see just how much a chunk of that right front-hand side nose is missing. Try and find a better angle from one of these other GT4 cars right now. We'll switch back to Govankini, and you can see just how, even with the white on the car, you can see just how much bodywork Carl Jansen appears to be missing. Try and take another look at that, but Carl Jansen, whatever has happened to him, slowly losing time right now. He's now 3.6 seconds behind Patrick Hahn, losing time on the straights. He's 7 kilometers an hour slower than Patrick Hahn. He's really struggling right now with the pace of that car, and maybe he's going to have to alter his pit strategy, come down pit lane. You can see right now just how much damage there is to that front of the car. Try and get a better look. You can see on that right-hand side, not coming down pit lane this time around, but your pole sitter in your GT4 class not having the smoothest run so far. Let's move back to your TCR class right now. Some good battling still happening up and down the field, but your leader Jack Sedgwick slowly edging away from George Simmons. Draft train still in effect. George Simmons now looking more in the rear with Max Esteren from Vendaval Sim Racing Blue. Very interested in moving himself back up into second place. To try and ride on the nose of Max Esteren. Does appear to be saving some fuel here. Maybe thinking about his pit strategy more than making the move here. George Simmons has closed. We'll move on to the nose of George Simmons. You can see just how much he closed on Jack Sedgwick on the straight. So clearly maybe Jack having a little bit of more pace in some of the trickier, twisty sections of this track. But George Simmons having a great amount of draft to keep himself right on the rear bumper of at Audi RS3 as George Simmons thinks about diving into pit lane, I think. Max Esteren thinking about it as well, maybe. Some gamesmanship happening from these guys. We're going to look also, there's some good battling here. Manuel Sudo from Team RSO battling hard with the Pro Lag. It's a different type of esport, but the Pro Log React esport driver. That's Mads Grevson from Sweden. And Manuel Sudo moving himself up into 9th position. More battles happening in your GT4 class. Mikko Ruskala continues to battle. You've got a Scandinavian battle here, the Finnish drivers. Mikko Ruskala battling Mikko Nitimäki. Hopefully I didn't butcher your name, Mikko, both of you. But good battling here happening there. 13 seconds adrift from the leader. Not too far off. And as we see with Carl Jansen, anything can happen in these races. You've got lots of traffic that can play a factor at any moment. Your battle for third in your 911 Cup car, though. Sorry, excuse me. Getting slightly strung out. Oh, excuse me, guys. Sorry. Maxime Meinstein for HM Engineering slowly falling back right now from Darren Gardner. I think the traffic having a little bit of an impact. But Maxime Meinstein really struggling right now. Was qualified on pole. Unfortunately, leading the race when he had a little bit of a tap from behind from Johan Harth. Now running in 4th position, and we'll be hoping that he's not going to lose too much time behind these Mazdas as they dive their way down into the carousel. That second Mazda does seem to lift a little bit early and make life easy for Maxime. He'll be very grateful for that. Go back to your TCR battle just for a sec. I love watching these TCR draft trains. It's only a 3-car draft train here, but Jack Sedgwick not able to pull away from George Simmons or Max Esteren. 1 second still separating 3 drivers, 50 minutes into this 4-hour race here. Now these TCR drivers are probably about halfway through their full fuel stint, but you did see as they came around the start-finish time last time around, George Simmons dummying down onto pit lane, maybe thinking about slightly alternate fuel strategy. Maybe you will have put full fuel into the car at the start of the race. Maybe you'll come in a little bit earlier just to get some track position. All of these cars have strung out a little bit. But I would not assume that at this point you would want to dive down so early. You would lose the draft and potentially lose some of the draft train that was keeping you at this type of pace. Jack Sedgwick has been showing the entire race. I think he qualified on pole by almost 2 seconds. He's got a lot of pace compared to some of the drivers in this field. And so George Simmons, also a very respected TCR driver for sure, doing a good job here to hang on to the rear Jack Sedgwick. It did appear as though there was some action happening in the 911 Cup class, but nothing as yet. So we're going to switch back to your GT3 cars, just give you a quick race update as we head towards the completion of the first hour of this race. Obviously, your two William Esports cars still leading out front. There's a 10-second gap between them. Alex Arana, currently the class of the field. He was fastest last time around with a 7:47.81. He's almost got 10 seconds as we approach the hour mark of this race. That is a very healthy gap, and he's going to be very happy that he's not going to have to push too hard to keep maintaining this gap. The two Movano sim racing cars are third and fourth, 30 seconds down the road from Alex Arana. Sebastian Schmalenbach in that Radicals Online Track Racer car. He's right behind these guys after qualifying in fourth position. And while he might not have shown the kind of pace that, for example, Maxime Bryan has shown, he's doing a good job to stick close to these guys. And both of these BMWs looking like they have minor damage on that front nose. Maybe through some attrition, Sebastian can move up a few more places. Right behind Sebastian, though, getting very close right now, Scott Michaels, Vulcan Horse Motorsport. I have maybe some affiliation with the real-life Australian team. Scott is a fairly regular competitor in VLN Series. He has raced in the Winter VLN Series for a few years now under the team R4R Motorsport, but good to see him here racing an official top split VLN with what appears to be an official real-life team. Good to see some more of those drivers also coming into the series. You've got Mirko Bortolotti, we're not going to go and take a look at right now, but he is driving with DB1 Triton Racing, and he's in the car in 8th position. He's about 20 seconds behind the drivers we're currently looking at, and I think we do have some action happening further back in the field. I believe that Maxime Reinstein is getting back onto the rear bumper of Griffin Gardner. We're not going to take a look just yet. We're going to focus on this GT3 battle still that's occurring. Still 4 cars, and they can all see each other. They're all separated by less than 3 seconds right now. Sebastian Schmalenbach in a little bit of a BMW sandwich. The BMW sandwich has got 2 loaves of bread around that Audi. It's a very interesting sandwich. I don't know how tasty it would be, but still showing a strong result. Not having the kind of pace in his Audi that the William Esports guys have managed to find, but a car that used to be thought of as a very tricky car to manage over the course of a long race, a car that was very unpredictable, even for the most skilled of drivers. We're now seeing just how quick and how potent it can be, for lack of a better word, when some of the suspension issues have been figured out and drivers really spend the time understanding the car. It's always been a quick car choice for many at the Spa 24 Hours. But some, for a VLN race, I think a lot of people prefer the relative safety of the Mercedes, or even something like the Ferrari, which have a lift-off oversteer tendency, but still not as bad in terms of random suicidiness that the Audi used to have. The Audi definitely a much better car than it has ever been. We'll switch back now because Maxime Reinstein is about half a second behind Griffin Gardner. We're actually going to switch back even further. Manuel Sudout, Team RSO, Currently side by side with Govan Keeney, I believe, as they come down the Dottinger Hoe. And Govan racing for Right Energy, powered by Alreich. I hope I said that right. And Team RSO only having one car in top split. That's got to be a slightly unusual feeling for them. As he, oh no, he slightly gets on the grass, and Manuel Sudau, that is him into the barriers at the last corner of the track. Let's go ahead and re-watch that incident. And that is the unfortunate thing about iRacing in its current form. Let's try and ride on board with the driver. He did not take much of the grass at all, guys. Manuel Sudau not making a very large mistake there at all. But you can hear it, just the tiniest bit of contact patch on the grass. And that will be Manuel Sudau in pit lane, requiring a fast repair. You can also see the red face racing Gt3 Black is actually a GT4 car. Forget the team name, but that's Sasha Gorley, also into pit lane. I don't believe either of these drivers will have wanted to be on pit lane this early in the race, guys. Let's switch back to a driver we haven't really talked too much about in your 911 Cup car, and that is Robert L. Harris for Team Tortuga, currently in 5th position. It's about 10 seconds behind Maxime Reinstein in front. And let's actually switch to Maxime Reinstein, because him and Griffin Gardner going at it again, wheel to wheel, as they head towards Muchkurve. 53 minutes down in this race. We still have a number of cars in the race. I'm not sure exactly how many cars are out of this race, but I do believe it's only a few. We still have the majority of our cars still on track. Right on board with Maxime Reinstein as they head towards the carousel. Hear how early Maxime Reinstein actually shifted up there. We're going to quickly switch to the dashboard view so you can see what gear he's using and how he's manipulating that car to work best for him. If you have not taken the opportunity, if you have not done so already, rather, I would highly recommend you search Sean Edwards Nordschleife onboard and take a look at some of the onboards from Sean Edwards in the 911 Cup car, an older generation. Some of the most fantastic onboard footage you will ever have the opportunity to see. Racemedia.tv in general have some really high quality onboards of the Nordschleife. They have one of my favorite Nordschleife onboards of all time. It's a 3-hour clip from a BLN race. You get to see the driver swaps as well, and it's basically uninterrupted. 3 hours onboard traffic in the GT3 class. It's a great video. You get to see the track action from this type of view. You also get to look back at the driver, get a little bit more, of a view of what the driver's kind of seeing, what the driver's doing in the course of a stint. It's a long lap here, and there are times when you can take a break, like as these drivers are going to get down towards the Dottinger Hoe, the one point of the track where you can really mentally sometimes take a deep breath, gather yourself back, and get ready to do the 156 corner track one more time. These two drivers heading down towards the Baloff S's right now. It's a very tricky section of track in these 911 Cup cars with no downforce. You hear just how much Maxime Reinstein is lifting. Be very careful not to get onto the grass, as we saw before, as we do have some takers, by the way, in your GT3 class down onto pit lane. We're not going to go and take a look at that right now, but we do have your first takers. Some of your cars in GT3 are staying out one more lap. But right now, Maxime Reinstein, as we do see Griffin Gardner getting a bit high, and that might hurt him here. It's all about getting a good exit here at the longest and best passing opportunity on the track. And I do not believe, unfortunately, that Maxime Reinstein is going to be close enough to do this come the end of the straight. Just a little too far back to really make the move around the outside, I think. But he's going to have a go, I'm pretty sure. Pulls up to the rear bumper, pulls out alongside. They are side by side, and there's nothing we can see. Who is in front? Let's switch to the battle box. Maybe we get a better indication. It's Maxime Reinstein who takes the position away from Griffin Gardner, back up into third place. And I think Maxime Reinstein now, I may have said he might not be able to get the pass done there. He's going to be looking in front. And he's going to be looking into how he can pass these two cars in front. I said these 911 Cup cars might do an extra lap. The only car actually doing an extra lap right now, Maxime Reinstein. You have 3 cars from your Cup car class down onto pit lane. Martin Asher, Johan Hart, and Griffin Gardner all into pit lane. But taking a look at your GT3 class very quickly, Alex Arana still out front. 2 drivers who have not come down onto pit lane. The Walkenhorst motorsport car. Scott Michaels of 34 still out on track. And then you also have the Radicals Online track racer Audi of Sebastian Schmallenbach. And I think potentially Alex Arana maybe not taking tires. That is something we will have to consider as we go further into this race. The track conditions being so cool, maybe some of these drivers able to double stint or even triple stint their tires. We are all on a new tire model, and for someone like your GT3 class, all of these drivers have not had much time to really prepare. Potentially that is just going to even up the playing field a little bit more, as no one really has more knowledge than anyone else. Just wanted to point out in that DV1 Triton Racing, Mirko Bortolotti no longer in the car. It is now Victor Schmolak. Oh God. Okay. I know my last name is complicated, guys. I apologize for butchering this name. Victor Schmolak. Okay, I apologize, Victor, in advance. I apologize profusely. Victor is now in the car, and he's going to be looking to break up some good time. Victor is almost 5K I rating. He must have been the one to register the car for this race. Maybe he's got a little bit more pace than Mirko Bortolotti. Maybe he can close in on some of those guys in front who are slightly pulling away towards the end of that stint. Just taking a look at your 911 Cup car leader, Martin Asher still leads by 10 seconds basically over. Oh no, there's been some drama, guys. There's been some changes in pit lane, I believe. Guggenau Racing Team, Johan Hart has now fallen further behind. I think Johan Hart may have taken tires in that pit stop, and he has fallen considerably behind. He's almost 40 seconds behind Martin Asher there. That will not be what he needs. Maybe he got a speeding penalty as well. But Johan Hart now fighting a very uphill battle to get back to the front of this field. We're going to switch Carly Jansen. We've kind of ignored the slower classes for various technical reasons, guys. I promise you this is not because I do not like the slower classes. You can see Carly Jansen still has that front damage. He's still circulating around the track, and he's only 3 seconds behind Huber Esports. So whatever's happened to Carly Jansen to cause that damage, it was affecting his lap times slightly earlier in the stint. Doing a good job right now to hold on to the pace and slowly reel in Patrick Hahn. Maybe Patrick Hahn's struggling from traffic a little bit. Let's go and take a look at Patrick Hahn. Let's see if he's got any damage himself on his car. It does not appear as though that is the case. It does appear as though Patrick Hahn, Huber Racing Esports orange driver in the 90 car, does have a very clean car. Very similar lap times last time around for your 2 drivers out front, though 8:34s. They are the class of your GT4 field, though. No one else in the 34s. Your next fastest driver in the 35, 7/10 of a second slower in their best lap. But the fastest other GT4 class that time by was a 3:36. So these guys now 2 seconds a lap faster as Patrick Hahn moves past the masses, and we see some action behind that. I think that's Frank Schottelmann getting passed by Carlos Villavicencio. And Frank Schottelmann from German Sim Racing getting passed by the TMF E-Racing Team VLN car. Now we really have not focused on these Mazdas much at all. Let's take a look. Now the Mazdas sometimes can produce some great racing, guys. It's not a foregone conclusion. just because they're in the slowest class, they don't have the best racing. No, that is not the case at all. In fact, sometimes it's got the best racing. As you see these two drivers sticking very close as they head back into the Nordschleife. Frank Schotterman using a Michael Schumacher replica livery helmet there. As you see two more GT4 class cars approaching behind. In the meantime though, let's switch back out to your driver out front. Scott Michaels currently has not come down pit lane, one of your few drivers to extend this stint one extra lap beyond what the fastest cars were able to do. But as we say that, Alex Arana now only 3 seconds behind Scott Michaels, even after one full pit stop. Alex Arana really the class of the field here today. No one in any class is really putting on as dominant a performance as he has done. He's fought a clean race. The competitors behind him have been clean as well, and he has shown just the best pace out of anyone. As we cross the 1 hour point, guys, let's go ahead and quickly review your classes. So you do have Scott Michaels from Walkenhorst Motorsport. He will come down onto pit road this time, and he will be followed by Radicals Online Track Racer in second, Sebastian Schmalenbach in the Audi. Currently has Alex Arana, who's already pitted for close company, and we will see, guys. Expect Sebastian to pull down onto pit lane. I don't expect Sebastian to get out of the way for Alex here, given that he is coming down to pit lane, but we will see. And then in third place there is Alex Arana, your pole position winner and the class of the field. He has at least a 10-second gap over his teammate, and I have a feeling that come the end of this race, unless something happens to Alex, he will be the one taking the checkered flag in first position at the end of the race. Sebastian Schmalenbach, in fact, does let Alex Arana through cleanly. Probably the wise call. And that drops him down to third before the pit stops. And then in fourth position, S2V Esports VLN. Another car not to pit. They will come down to pit lane this time. What is going on here, guys? Absolutely amazing scenes. I very confidently tried to predict pit stops here. But the action does appear, guys, to have... The order does appear to have been completely reshifted around. I may have been talking complete nonsense recently. Let's ride on board with Alex Arana. See if we can see the pit strategies. Maybe if I pull that up here, guys, quickly. Just give me 1 second. All right, well, there is the story of the race, guys. I apologize. I did not know if we would get some of this detail on the overlay, but we do appear to be good right now. You see, some of these cars appear to have come down for fuel only. Now, your fastest driver on track, the Williams Esports Ben Q car. Alex Arana did take tires, but the Walkenhorst Motorsport car of Scott Michaels, I believe, car that did not take tires, no one extending the stint 1 lap longer, apparently. I kind of want to validate this information that is in front of me because I do not fully believe it, but we will go off what I see on the overlay. In fact, we will not. We are going to interfere with the quality of this broadcast very quickly, just to validate this. Alright, so you can see a slightly slower lap for Scott Michaels on lap 8, and he did indeed come into pit lane. I just want to validate though, guys, I apologize for this, but as an amateur broadcaster, I want to understand exactly what I did wrong here. No, they all came down to pit lane at the same time. I am just an exceptionally slow person. Alright, there is all you needed to know about the quality of this broadcast, guys. But big drama then in your GT3 class. Your leader, or your pole position winner, Alex Arana, no longer the race leader, but with fresh tires, he is catching Scott Michaels hand over fist and will not take long to dispatch him. A few other cars that did take tires, the Williams Esports Fanatic, second entry, who was running second on track, now 12 seconds behind current race leader Scott Michaels. And then the Movano Sim Racing 72 car, I believe that is the one with Maxime Bryant at the wheel. He is the one who has shown considerable pace throughout this race so far. Unfortunately, he is 34 seconds behind these drivers. So for him, the act of taking tires is considerably more costly than the rest of the drivers. Interesting to note that the other Movano sim racing car, the 334 car, still being driven by Dion Fallow, came down for 41 seconds, so 10 extra seconds in the box as far as I can tell that were not required for fuel, so maybe he took a 2-tire stop. Very interesting to see how that balance will play out, or rather the balance of his car will play out over the course of the stint. Typically in the past, 2 tires did not work in iRacing. Of course, a severe imbalance in the car, as you see Alex Arana going to the inside of Scott Michael. Scott getting out of the way, I'm pretty sure there. Not making life too hard. And so Scott Michaels, driver from America, I believe, in that BMW car, now running in second place. He seems to have slightly more pace than the driver behind him, Sebastian Schmallenbach, who he did jump with his pit stop strategy. So maybe Scott Michaels trying to do a little bit of, maybe he's got something in the bag with his fuel strategy. It's definitely working for him early in the race. Let's go back though to your 911 Cup car class. The leader Martin Asher right now. And unfortunately we do not have accurate pit information for this class, so we're not going to show it. He currently leads by 11 seconds from Alpine Eagle Racing Black, who have not come down pit lane recently. HM Engineering are in third place. Your pole position winner on the fight back after being turned around in turn 1. They've got Burst Esports, Garen Gardner close behind them. And now Johan Harth is slowly fighting back from whatever happened in his pit stop. He's about 41 seconds behind Martin Asher right now. Right before the pit stop, he's only 10 seconds behind, so not what Johan Harth, Porsche Esports Super Cup driver, will have been hoping for. Obviously, yesterday being Porsche Esports Super Cup Media Day, Johan will have spent a lot of time in this car over the last 2 days. A car he's obviously very familiar with, and we do wish Johan good luck for this upcoming Porsche Esports Super Cup season. Good to see him continuing to drive the car in other series like this. Out front in your GT3 class, there is some action happening. The Williams Esport Fanatic car, the car that did take tires, is pressuring Dion Fiallo hard, and you can see Moreno Sorica using the lights, trying to communicate a message to Dion Fiallo to move out of the way. Now just remember, we're going to show you the weather very quickly again. It is a very cold session. We started at an ambient temperature of about 19 degrees Celsius and a track temperature of about 21. It's increased very slightly as we have all these cars circulating, and as the dynamic weather cycle operates in iRacing, we're now up to 22 or 23 degrees track Celsius, as some of these drivers going around some lap TCR cars for the first time. But maybe that's why some of these drivers choosing to double stint tires. It's a very cold day. It used to be in the old tire model on the GT3 cars, you would consider double stinting below about 28 degrees Celsius. I do know that the new tire model had a update a few days after its initial release to increase tire wear, to decrease or dissuade drivers from trying to double and triple stint tires in the GT3 car. But maybe, just maybe, these drivers have figured out the best way in these even cooler track temperatures to extend the life of the tire a little bit longer. Having said that though, Alex Arana now has a 2-second gap over Scott Michaels. He's been pulling away. He put in a purple sector just in his last sector. He's slowly just pulling away and eking out that gap again, showing that maybe tires was the right strategy call for him, given that he had such a dominant lead for this race. Riding on board still with Dion Fiallo, as we see the Williams Esports entry. I think he will be close enough here to make a move. I don't think the Movano car is really going to have much choice in terms of fighting this. I think he should probably give up the place. There is a latch car in front that they will be trying to use, maybe get a little bit more draft. Moreno Sorica, they're side by side as they head towards the final corner. The Movano car does eventually lift, and Moreno Sorica promoted up into 5th place, slowly working his way back up after taking tires in the pit stop and falling back down the field. As you can see just how close that he has to get. He gets a terrible run because of that Mazda, and now the Movano entry going to try around the outside into turn 1. In fact, Dion has cleared him and retakes the position going into turn 1, but I think Moreno is not too happy about that, and he's going to try ascend into turn 1 and forcing that Movano car, I think, to kind of concede the position just a little bit. Dion again not deterred, even on these old tires, trying to fight back, but not able to get the kind of traction that he needs to really get a good run there and continue to fight with Moreno. Moreno now going to hope that he can start to pull away and close in on Sergei Matanura, the next driver in front of him who has not taken tires. Going back to your GT4 class for just a second, as though this battle between your two Mikos, currently riding on board with the Black Star Racing, Mikko Nitimaki, he's been battling with Mikko Ruskula for basically this entire stint so far. And they still are side by side, or rather nose to nose, as I believe that these drivers are just a few laps away from pit entry. We've seen your GT3 cars and your 911 Cup cars come down onto pit entry already once today. And now I do believe it is the turn for your, not TCRs just yet. TCR, GT4 and MX-5s will all be coming down shortly though. Out front though, still Patrick Hahn. He inherited the lead when it appeared as though Carly Anthony, the core sim racing entry, took some damage. But he's done a good job. Managed to, or rather Carly Anton has done a good job of managing to fight his way back. The gap just 2.6 seconds now. And you can see Carly Anton missing a considerable chunk of that front bumper. Will not help his top end performance at all. But it doesn't look as though, I'm comparing their top speeds, it does not look as though it's costing him that much time. So maybe, just maybe, this car, you know, actually built on the new damage model. Maybe old damage model, you know, because all cars in the session have to be on the new damage model for the new damage model to actually be in effect. Maybe the old damage model not as harsh. You can see just how much is missing. He's missing the entire front bumper. Like, it has just peeled off. Very bizarre to see that. And you can also see some crumpling on the upper parts of where that bumper would typically be connected to the rest of the bodywork. But less than 3 seconds separating these guys as they head towards some of the funnest corners on the track. Let's ride on board with Carly Jansen in this damaged car. Let's go ahead actually and do another fan immersion. Just because it's only me in the commentary booth, guys, we're going to do these just every so often, just to give me a little bit of a break, let my voice recover. If I need to answer the call of nature or run any other errands, like feed my dog, which I should probably do right about now, I'm going to go quickly do that while you guys get to listen to some beautiful onboard cameras and see just how some of the top drivers in the iRacing service handle one of the toughest tracks in the world. So here he is, Carly Jansen from Core Sim Racing. Well, we're going to have to take a break from the fan immersion, I guess, because Carl Jansen, like I was saying, down onto pit lane. I believe they've done 9 or 10 laps. So let's go ahead and switch back maybe to your 911 Cup car. Well, actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and ride on board. There appears to have been some drama out front with Alex Arana. While we're going to go ahead and take a look at this because he appears to have damage now. Your pole position winner and the man who's been controlling this race. Some drama for him, and you can actually see, I believe he's got some steering damage as well. Big drama, and he might have to come down and use that fast repair. Let's go ahead and quickly take a look at this. Working his way through traffic with a TCR car, and oh no, that's a big incident. Oh no, Alex Arana. Williams Esport Ben Q car. That is gonna leave some. That is gonna cost them. Let's try and ride on. Sorry, this is big drama for your race leader. I'm trying to go back. There we go. I apologize, guys. I'm having some technical issues right now. So let's take one more look at this incident, guys. That's big drama for your GT3 leader. All right, apologies for the technical issues. We're going to try, guys, and just get a better look at this incident because there is big drama here. That is the 14 car. I believe that might be... I'm trying to check right now, guys. I apologize. Oh, wow, big drama. That might be... All I know is, let's quickly rewind, guys. We'll take one final look at the incident on board. Yeah, I lied. We'll take one more look at it from the regular cam, and you can just see Alex trying to go for a space that maybe wasn't there. Big drama taking out the 93 car as well. That's Frank Schottelmann. I think that's German Sim Racing Cyan, the car we were watching battling earlier. And now Alex Arana did indeed come down onto pit lane, and he's now back in 7th position. Some other cars also down on pit lane. Sebastian Schmallenbach, I think he may have also been involved in that incident in some way because he's come down a bit early. Big drama, guys, here. Trying to now find what battles are still happening on the racetrack. Dion Fiallo currently behind Sergei Maturina. Sergei having a very strong performance right now, up 6 positions. He was running quite far back in the field prior to the pit stops. But pit strategy here working out nicely, and now with that drama, I think things have started to change. We're going to try and look at that incident one more time, guys. I want to try and see if Sebastian was involved at all. So I'm just trying to take a look from a camera that will actually give me some better perspective. I don't believe Sebastian was involved in that incident at all. Yeah, I don't believe he was involved in that incident at all. So something else happening to that Radicals Online track racer car. Both Radicals Online's car having significant issues in this race so far. But what it does mean, your big winner is Scott Michaels. Walkenhorst Motorsport now has a 6-second lead over that second Williams Esport Fanatic car. And if we're just going to quickly take a look at and remind ourselves, if I bring that information up, the Williams Esport Fanatic car does have new tires. So he will have slightly faster pace and slightly faster grip at this stage of the race. So you would assume that Moreno Sorica is going to close that gap. And hopefully for the Williams Esports team, drama unfolding in front of Alex Arana, hopefully Moreno Sorica in that Fnatic sponsored car is going to be able to take the reins from Alex Arana and take over the lead and control of this race in your GT3 class. Let's go ahead and take a brief look though at some of your other classes as well. Arden Asher continuing to lead in your 911 Cup car class. He's got almost 20 seconds over Maxim Reinstein, who qualified on the pole position for HM Engineering. And in third place, Burst Esports, starting to fall off the pace of HM just a little bit. And Johan Harth, who was running in first for much of this race, a few laps at the start, and then in that lead battle, currently sitting almost 40 seconds behind Martin Asher. Something happened in the pit cycle for Johan, but still surprising to see him this far back, as I believe Radical's online, currently slipping down. Let's go and see what's happening to them. Yuri Kastorp, unfortunately having a small incident. His car still looks clean, but let's go ahead and take a look. Coming around to take the shortcut on the VLN layout. Just a little bit too much power, lighting up the rears, and a little bit of a 90-degree slide. Not too much damage done to his race, losing 2 positions. But still only 2 or 3 seconds behind Robert Harris in that Team Tortuga car in 5th place. So for Yuri Kastorp in the third Radicals Online car in this session, still looking good. Let's go ahead then and take a look at your GT4 class now that your leaders have come down pit lane. Still out front, I believe, Patrick Hahn in your Huber Esports Orange. He currently leads by 12 seconds from Sorg Rensport Esports. Christian Bug in the 333 718 Cayman currently. Not sure exactly what happened here, guys, but Carly Jansen, I think he might have that front bumper now fixed. He may have taken the time to fully repair it using normal repairs, not taking his fast repair potentially, because he is now slipped, I think, almost 40 seconds behind Patrick Hahn, who, despite having the damage, he was only 2.5 seconds behind going into that first round of pit stops. So Carl Jansen now down in 8th place behind some teams that he will want to finish in front of. Carl Jansen, again, another driver who is going to be in the Porsche Esports Super Cup. Not necessarily driving the car that he's going to be racing, but still a Porsche. I'm sure it's a car he's got a decent amount of experience in, as Scott Michaels makes the pass through the Bell of S's to put him one more lap down. And you can see Scott Michaels, if we look at their sector times, we'll look at the lap times actually, because their sector's looking a bit off. You can see he gained a considerable chunk of time in that pit stop, which is why he's in front of Moreno Sorica in the Williams Esports Fnatic car. But losing almost 6 seconds last time around, probably due to traffic. You can just see even pre-pit stop, Moreno Sorica definitely having a pace advantage, and now less than 1.5 seconds behind. Since our last race spot, or rather, not race spot fan immersion, I'm just getting so used to hearing that. Since our last ONC SRN fan immersion got so rudely interrupted by those pit cycles, what we're going to do is go back for a second round of fan immersion, this time riding on board with Moreno Sorica as he chases down Scott Michaels in first place. And hopefully, by the time that this fan immersion finishes, he will be right on the tail of the BMW in front of him. But in the meantime, here we go, fan immersion. So there you guys go. You got to see the pass for the race lead. Moreno Soriga taking back the lead for Williams Esports from Scott Michaels in that Walkenhorst Motorsport 134 BMW. Well, it's not the Williams Esports car that we may have expected to see out front. Alex Arana having that incident in traffic. Now back in 6th position, 43 seconds behind his teammate who he once had a 10-second gap to. Unfortunate for him, he had to come back down to pit lane. I think he took his fast repair in that process, and now he's going to need a perfect race, and he's going to need to see the cars in front of him have some bad luck in order to get back to the front of this field. Quickly take a look at your biggest winners and losers in each class as we go through the field, as 90 minutes have been completed. Biggest winners in the GT3 class are the two teams Walkenhorst Motorsport 134 and S2V Esports. Two teams that chose not to take tires in that first round of pit stops, making that strategy work quite effectively now to jump 5 and 6 positions respectively. The biggest loser, obviously, Alex Arana in the Williams Esports BenQ car, qualified on pole and was dominating the race for an unfortunate incident in traffic has put him back in 6th place, fighting an uphill battle. We'll now go ahead and look at your leader in your 911 Cup car class, Martin Asher, obviously known more for his sim racing hardware, now working his way through some TCR traffic right now. You can see him being very careful with it, taking any unnecessary risks. You see two TCRs taking this opportunity to fight side by side. You do see there are some cars down on pit lane right now for this Porsche Cup car class. That's because there was an incident involving quite a few cars in the first few laps of the race. Some of these cars needing to come down onto pit lane right now, just because slightly off strategy. Unfortunately, your biggest loser in this class is Johan Hart. Qualified in 2nd and was running in 1st at times. I believe he has retired from the session, no longer out on track. But Martin Asher leads by 20 seconds from your former pole position man, Maxime Ramstein, and then Griffin Gardner from First Esport, currently the car in 3rd position. Robert L. Harris is the 4th car in this train, 1 minute and 7 seconds behind Martin Asher. And the top 8 cars in your Cup car class separated by... I think we have some movement up out front, guys. We have 2 cars down onto pit lane, in fact. And those are your 2 cars who were out front, or the 2 cars running slightly alternate strategies. So very interesting, maybe there is some strategy going on that I missed here. Slightly early for these guys to come down onto pit lane, unfortunately. Sergi Maturuna, I think, is switching drivers, yes, and he's going to be replaced by Victor Gran de Oro Preto. Scott Michaels does appear to be staying in that car. But some interesting things happening in your GT3 class. We're going to switch back, though, to your GT4 class. Quickly review the state of this. Your current leader is Patrick Kahn, qualified P2, now up into P1. After Carl Janssen in that Core Sim Racing car suffered some damage and lost his front bumper at some point. And currently, as we'll ride on board actually with a cockpit cam, see exactly what Patrick Kahn is seeing as he enters the Nordschleife for the 13th time this race. Carl Janssen on a recovery drive, 39 seconds currently off your leader. He did take the time to get the damage repaired. I think he's kind of expecting some attrition later in this race to recover some of those positions. A big winner in this race has been Glacier Racing. We've watched Mikko Ruskala battling hard in that first stint. Currently, Joni Hager, another name I'm familiar with from Winter VLN. He raced the Mazda in Winter VLN, if I recall correctly. He's currently sitting in 3rd position with Black Star Racing, right on the gearbox. Black Star Racing has a new driver in as well, Mikko A. Nurmi. Very, very quick driver. The 2 very quick drivers in the car right now. As you can see, Core Sim Racing. We'll go and take a look currently at Carl Janssen, exactly what is happening right now for him. He was one of my favorites to win this race, but unfortunately for him, the damage he's taken has kind of left him in a bit of a precarious position. He's just under a second behind the car in front. The driver currently in front is Paolo Toppi, driving for SRC Squad Corsa White. If we take a look at the lap time delta, in fact, I have to switch to Paolo Toppi quickly. You can see that on that last lap alone, 13 seconds gained by Carl Jansen. Toppi having a slightly slow lap, maybe due to the pit stops. But even with the damage that Carl Jansen had, he was able to put in some fairly quick times, and he's only 5 seconds behind that battle which we were seeing between Glacier Racing and Black Star Racing as he passes Toppi for that position heading into Schwaudenkraut. Carl Jansen now up into 5th position. 4 positions lost in class, but he's slowly making his way back towards the front. Next job will be those 2 cars in front of him, the 2 Finnish drivers fighting hard. It's going to be a bit hard for him to close the gap all the way to Huber, but potentially he will be looking with 2 hours and 20 minutes to go at what he can do to catch that Sword Esports car. Christian Bug currently in the car. I just wanted to take a look. Johan Hoth currently still in the car, maybe just taking the opportunity to get some more seat time. The upcoming first round of the Porsche Esports Super Cup, the Tag Heuer Porsche Esports Super Cup. But moving back now to your 3rd out of the 5 classes, or 4th out of the 5 classes, I apologize. Simucube NX Racing, Jack Sedgwick, currently leading this race. He qualified on pole position, but as we have become accustomed to seeing in this TCR class, especially around the Nordschleife, a lot of draft was in effect in that first stint, and you saw a 3-car breakaway. Max Esterson and George Simmons in the Apex Racing team car following him very closely. But right now, Jack Sedgwick with an almost 6-second gap, maybe because of traffic. Traffic just helping to break up this pack a little bit, and slowly working to try and pull away. He's been considerably faster the last few laps. And now that they've just come out of the pit stop, let's see exactly what's happening. Max Esterton is still in Vendaval Sim Racing blue car, however, slotting himself into the Apex Racing Team 63 car and taking over from George Simmons is Rallycross World Championship racer Stefan Chepelevsky. I believe I said that correctly. Stefan has one of the nicest sim rigs you will ever see. I would highly recommend you to search his name in YouTube. Go find his YouTube channel. It's a very, very cool sim rig. He's got like a 2 PC setup so that he can stream, or rather he races in VR while also having monitors that project a proper world view around him. He's got like netting like you would have in a real car. He's got similar kind of like safety bars and stuff. Like, it's a very cool rig. Highly recommend you go out and check out his rig tour video. And not just that, Stellian puts out a number of interesting YouTube videos comparing direct drive wheels, for example. So definitely check that out. But he's currently 13 seconds behind your leader, and there is not too much close battling here in your TCR class. Your closest battles quite far back. It is Philip Matrevsky for Ronin Simsport, and in front of him is Lars Boll in what appears to be a solo team's entry. And right behind him you've got the Team Redline car, Patrick Christopher Moser. I believe that might have actually been the car involved in the incident that we saw with Alex Arana. I was not sure, and I didn't want to say it at the time, but I'm pretty sure now that I'm looking at the car, it was. Very unfortunate. I think if I remember the incident correctly, I don't want to assign blame. That is not my job as a commentator. It's Patrick Moser going into the grass but collecting the car safely. But if I remember correctly, the Team Redline car just trying to squeeze Alex Arana as to discourage him from making a move in a slightly risky part of the track, to be completely honest. But in the event of the way that the squeeze was done. Unfortunately, Alex had already committed, and the squeeze coming just a bit too late, causing an incident. And Team Redline now dropping 6 positions to be 9th in your class. Your top 10 is still separated by less than 50 seconds though. Your TCR class really is one of the closest classes in the field. We're trying to now quickly look at your MX-5 battle. There is not too much action happening right now. Appears to be some cars that are not still in the session, but Antilevska, your pole position winner, still out front. He leads by almost over 16 seconds from the Full Send Racing 69 car, currently being driven by Marcel Fleischmann, the German. And Marcel currently up 3 or 4 positions. Good strong race for Full Send Racing right now. Another team, again, very familiar with from Winter VLN. In third place, it's DV1 Trident Racing. We have their GT3 sister car out front, and we're actually going to take a quick interruption here because I believe we have pit stops unfolding. We have a Movano car currently sitting at the edge of pit lane. Dion Fallow has got out of the car, and Tommaso Carla rather, I think now getting ready to go. I think that does promote Alex Arana back into third place now, slowly making his way back up after that incident in traffic. But very interesting to see the strategy right now. I would have expected cars to only come in at the end of this lap at the earliest, given that cars pitted on lap 7. And GT3 cars going around an hour here at the Nordschleife. Not hard to save an extra lap in the past. It's going to be very interesting to see where Williams Esports Fanatic, for example, comes out in relation to Walkenhorst Motorsport, a car who pitted slightly early. We ride on board with, we follow rather Scott Michaels as he comes around. I think he did in fact get past Tommaso Carla, who they were already in front of coming into the pit stop cycle. But let's see exactly where Tommaso Carla still appears to be waiting for some service to get finished. How long has he been down on pit lane? Spent almost 100 seconds so far in pit lane. How long is his time in the box going to be? It's a long time right now. It's falling further and further back. It's almost, there we go. Revs up 103 seconds. I believe that does mean that the Movano Sim Racing 334 car has switched tires and drivers. So Tommaso Carla now going to get into the rhythm of this race and look to see exactly where he is in relation to the other drivers. He does have a driver not too far behind him, Fork Freak Racing, also having to do somewhat of a recovery drive after incidents early in the race. Movano now almost 40 seconds behind the S2V car in front of them, now driven by Victor Preto. And a further 10 seconds behind, Scott Michaels still in the car there for Walkenhorst Motorsport. But almost a full minute behind that 6th place car for Team Movano. This is where you've got to think tire strategy starting to play in. Let's see if we can take a look at the amount of time spent in the pit lane. Movano spending an extra 40 seconds on pit lane this time around compared to those drivers in front of them. Not sure exactly where this difference is coming from, but we have an incident. It's your race leader. It's the second Williams Esports car. It's Morenas Ricca. It does appear as though he's got minimal damage, but we're going to have to go back and take a look at this right now. Appears to be at the start of the lap, heading into the Hudson back. Oh no, this is further in the lap. Never mind. This is coming towards the main run as you would move towards Bravery. I'm forgetting the corner name. I do believe, yes, this is in the middle part of the lap, just losing the rear end of the car. We're right on board. Did not appear as though he touched any grass, just trying to carry too much momentum. And the rear of the car just stepping out on him there. So Moreno Sorica going to be very thankful that he has still got a clean car. However, Williams Esports Fnatic entry now, starting to experience some troubles. Are they pushing a little too hard? They are closing pretty hard on two Mazdas coming through the braver. You see Moreno lifting very early and compromising the corner to not run into those Mazdas too early, and not lose even more time. Drama unfolding for the Williams Esports team. We're going to actually switch back further in your field right now because Carl Jansen has closed on this battle between two teams from Finland, and he's now in the sandwich of Glacier Racing and Black Star Racing. He's already passed Mikko A. Nurmi, and now he's trying to get to work on Joni Hager. It's a bit hard to tell using that graphic. You can kind of see that the gap coming down very, very quickly between these two drivers. Carl Jansen really proving just how quick he is now that he's got that damage repair. Flashing the lights, trying to move that driver out of the way. And Joni Hager going to defend the outside line here. What we're going to try and do, if I can switch quickly enough, let's ride on board with Mikko A. Nurmi as he sees this battle unfolding in front of him. Carl Jansen around the outside, and he's going to take the position. And I think Joni Hager compromising that exit so much that Mikko A. Nurmi might even get past as well here. They're going to go side by side through some of these kinks. Just don't touch the grass, guys. You don't want to do that. Well, I say that, and fortunately, very, very fortunately, Mikko A. Nurmi going a little bit on the grass, but able to control it and take the place away from Joni Hager. Joni Hager losing 2 places there. As Carl Jansen now working his way back into 3rd position. He's 37 seconds behind your leader. Maybe he sees Christian Budd 20 seconds down the road. Maybe that's a more realistic target with 2 hours, just over 2 hours to go left in this race. Right on board now with Joni Hager, the biggest loser in that battle. And it's immediately obvious when you ride on board with these brand new GT4 cars in iRacing just how much slower they are compared to your GT3 cars. Your GT3 cars, your leaders have been doing like 750s consistently, and whereas your GT4 cars much more consistently in the 830s, sometimes in the 840s. So it's just something you should note. Still some battling going on here as we have a big crash in front of us. That is Mikko A. Nurmi. And that appears to have been some serious, serious damage. Let's go ahead and watch it as Moreno Sorica actually comes down onto pit lane. But we're going to go ahead and watch back that crash. Mikko A. Nurmi unfortunately losing the rear end of the car and spearing into the tire wall. Let's rewind the clip just very slightly. Unfortunately, not going to show us the incident in full. And you can see here, just getting on the grass and smashing the right front. And unfortunately, there may have been some netcode contact with Joni Hager as well. Joni Hager may be getting very lucky there, but we'll try and re-watch this now. I'm going to try and re-watch it on board with Joni Hager. You can see just what he saw as Mikko A. Nurmi lost the rear end of the car. Unfortunately, some more technical issues with iRacing. But here we go. This is what he would have seen coming around this right-hand corner. Just a little bit too much grass. And just able to get out of the way soon enough. Very, very lucky for Joni Hager. Now 2 seconds behind Carl Jansen. Carl Jansen using that opportunity just eke away a gap and ensure that there is no opportunity for Joni Hager to really pull any kind of draft from his rear bumper. Now Juan Iglesias for Dream Factory Paneco. He's on the rear bumper of Tom Valentini for SimRC.de. We have a lot of German sim racing teams in this series today. Good to see SimRacing.de in this top split event. As your GT3 cars all coming out of pit lane, Alex Arana has retaken the lead of the race. However, this is all just pit strategy. What we are going to do now, though, is ride on board with the Williams Esport Fanatic driver of Andre Botecher. He's taken over the car from Moreno, and on the back of Sebastian Schmalenbach, who's still in that Radicals Online Track Racer car. I'm going to ride on board with him for a little bit of time. There's not too much battling happening up and down the field. There's a few isolated battles which we can switch to, in fact. I can try to switch to. I switched to the wrong one. The main battle here is still Tom Valentini and Juan Iglesias right behind him. Also, Antoine Titus battling hard with Peter Mikus in front of him in the 911 Cup cars for 7th and 8th in your 911 Cup class. But what we will do is ride on board with Andre Butcher as he gets up to speed on these brand new tires and chases down Sebastian Schmalenbach. And looks like he's also going to have to weave through some traffic, so could be some interesting things to come. As the 23 car of Martin Castro, currently in 8th in your MX-5 class, moving out of the way for Andre. I don't know if we're going to be able to see, but let's see. We have the pit time. So apparently, Williams Esports Fanatic spending 1 minute 8 seconds on pit road this time. Maybe slightly added time just required to change the driver. They did change tires in the first pit stop as well. But right now, I have to think that unless they're able to get one more lap in either of the next two stints, all teams are going to require 2 stops in your GT3 class to get to the end of the race. Oh, and there is some action happening. Martin Asher down on pit lane, which is going to promote HM Engineering and Burst Esport up into 1st and 2nd as Martin Asher now leaving the pit lane. And Martin Asher having a superb run so far. Even after his pit stop, he's going to be 3rd in class. Very, very, very good performance so far from Martin. And coming to the 2-hour mark of the race, he knows that he's going to need to keep this performance up for another 2 hours. We're going to go back, though, out front, like I was saying, to Andre Botecher as he tries to close in the gap here on Sebastian Schmalenbach. You can see it, MX-5 in front being very helpful, getting on the brakes nice and early, letting Andre through there. Let's go ahead and give him some thank you. That is the 25 car of Henry Ahonen. Thank you very much, Henry. I'm not sure that Sebastian is going to be so thrilled about that, though. Possibility that Sebastian maybe lost a bit more time with an MX-5 than Andre did at that point in time. We are coming up to the 2-hour point of the race, guys. Still less than 2 minutes separating your top 9. Only 9 GT3 cars still out there and circulating on track. We are in the midst of pit strategy right now, so just keep an eye on that. There's not much wheel-to-wheel fighting happening right now. But pit strategy, very important. Actually, I think there is something that just happened. I'm going to go and try and take a look at it. It's saying that Tim Greven passing Stefan Chepelevsky. Stylian Chepelevsky. Sorry, I'm getting myself confused with people. But it does not appear as though anything actually happened. It appears that that might just be some overlay issues. Like I mentioned at the start of this race, guys, we are dealing with some iRacing limitations in our overlay. iRacing having some performance issues, causing some stuttering with large field sizes, especially at the Nordschleife. So we've had to set the number of cars down to about 40 to ensure that we can deliver the kind of broadcast that we want to deliver. What we will do, though, is since that battle for second in your GT3 cars is not closing in just yet, we will go to one that is fairly close. Juan Iglesias continues to pressure the SimRC.de Carbon driver. Tom Valentini still in that car. Both very, very good drivers. Tom Valentini, 7.3K I rating. Juan Iglesias, 5.8K. So we are looking at some very, very high quality drivers here. And you can see Juan just trying to put the pressure on and going very deep as they approach the carousel. Slowly getting onto the rear bumper here of Tom Valentini's SimRC car. Less than half a second separating these two drivers right now. As they continue to work themselves around this fun part of the Nordschleife, tight and twisty, and requires a lot of concentration to maintain the maximum momentum in the car, especially in the low-powered GT4 cars. Now remember, all the cars in this session are on the new tire model, a tire model that does allow you to slide the car just a little bit more than the previous tire model. If in the previous tire model as Tom slightly goes off track there, not a big impact, he's able to carry his momentum there. You can see just how hard these two guys are having to push right now. Yeah, this new tire model definitely more accommodating of a four-wheel slide in the middle of a corner. On the old tire model, if you did that, you instantly overheat the tires and suddenly have no more grip for about half a lap. So slight improvement here, although you still have to watch out. You cannot just continue to abuse the tires, as Juan Iglesias unfortunately gets stuck behind another car at the Beloff S's. Not much that Mazda could do, unfortunately. And Juan doing the right thing there, just backing out a little bit, playing the smart move, preserving both cars' race there. Carl Jansen, though, we're going to ride back on board with him, though. He's continuing to chip away at the lead of the Huber Esports car out front. When we last looked at him, he was about 38, 39 seconds behind the leader. He's now got the gap under 35 seconds, and we've crossed the 2-hour point of this race. I definitely think that we're going to be looking, as long as Carl doesn't have another incident, he's going to get past that Soul Grand Sport Esports driver up in second place right now. That's Christian Bug, unless something changes. And he might even be able to pressure Patrick Hahn in the Huber Racing Esports orange car into making a mistake. Let's take a look at the lap times this time. This car's going to come around into the last corner. Let's see exactly what the delta is right now. I think actually it'll be a bit hard to use the overlay that we have, but what we can do is I can read some of the data that is being presented to me. Last time around, Carl Jansen with an 8:35.8. Patrick Hahn just did an 8:37.8. So 2 seconds left compared to the last lap. What's Carl Jansen going to do now? Carl Jansen coming into the pit lane. Carl Jansen obviously slightly off strategy, I think. A slightly odd decision to me, though. I believe that if we look at his lap time, or rather his pit lap, he was lost into the pit around when everyone else came in, and he's come in very early. I'm not exactly sure what he's doing. He's not in the car right now. But hopefully this is not the end for Carl Jansen. Definitely showing some good pace to start to recover some of that time lost. Car's up on the jacks right now, getting tires replaced. But what we will do... switch back out front. Andre Bochecher, apologies for butchering your name. He's continuing to get into his rhythm, trying to chase down Sebastian Schmallenbach in that Radicals Online track racer car. Still has not come down pit lane yet. Williams Esport Fanatic guy, the driver on a slightly different pit strategy. And again, we're right now in the stage of the race where there is not much fighting happening. The one close battle that we appear to have is Till Norwig, the German sim racing Cyan driver, now in the car. And he's fighting with Adrian Benito in the 37 Mazda right behind him. These cars separated by less than a second, but other than that, basically every car in this field is separated by a minimum of 2 or 3 seconds. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the stories of the race as Griffin Gardner, Burst Esport 911 Cup car driver, down onto the pit lane, and that will promote Martin Asher back up into first as he comes across the start-finish line to take back that position. As actually, he won't be into first as Maxim Reinstein continues to go long here. Some alternate pit strategy for sure playing out here. Maybe tires are playing a bit of an impact, and Maxim Reinstein may be able to save his tires a bit longer and run 2 laps longer now than Martin Asher has been able to do. Maxim Reinstein that time around with an 8:10.05. A few seconds off his fastest lap, so having to deal with a bit of traffic right now. Still being fairly consistent. Be right on board as he heads back towards Nordschleife again. 15 laps complete for many of these drivers. You can see Maxim having to be very careful on power. See just how much he's working the steering wheel as well. It's not a car that you can take any breaks in. Even, I mentioned earlier, sometimes you can use the Dottinger as a little bit of a break. Just kind of relax your mind, get ready to go one more time on a long flying lap. 150 something corners. It definitely forces you as a driver to keep concentrated, and then you get a few opportunities here and there to just let your mind kind of be at ease. So Carl E. Jansen, unfortunately, I think still is still on pit lane or not even in pit lane. So I think, unfortunately for Carl, I'm trying to figure it out, but I think that might be the end for him. So let's take a look then at your TCR leader. TCR has not had that much fighting since the start of the race. They had a front 3 kind of break away, and that Jack Cedric leading that train from George Simmons and the Apex Racing Team TCR car from the Vendaval Sim Racing blue car, currently sitting in 2nd place. That Apex Racing Team car has slipped to 3rd. Cillian Chepelevsky currently in the car, 23 seconds behind the leader now. And while there are a few cars just a few seconds apart, they are not fighting as hard as we have typically seen in Winter VLN, for example, where the TCR class, even though might not have some of the strongest drivers like we're seeing right now with Team Redline and Simucube Inex and 2 Vendaval entries, still having some really close battles. So very interesting to see that the battling not as close as I expected to see. We'll switch back out front right now, guys, to watch Alex Arana. Lots of fog still here. We'll take this time, guys, as we have just under 2 hours to go, to take one more look at your weather. The weather's kept fairly constant at this point. Still looking at about a 21 degrees Celsius track temperature. Again, very cool, and so that's maybe why we're seeing so many alternate strategies. Drivers able to maybe play around with the tire wear a little bit. Alex Arana, I think he may come down pit lane this time. Nope, he's staying out one more lap. Alex Arana on a slightly different pit strategy due to that incident, causing significant amount of damage to his car, requiring him to come down and take the faster break. That last lap around a 7:49, 1.5 seconds, I guess, off his fastest lap of the race. Not having the worst pace in the race right now. The track is rubbering in, which sometimes in iRacing can be more of a hindrance than anything else. Even with these cold rubber conditions, you can see just how much Alex is struggling sometimes in some of these slower corners. What we're going to do though, is right now the field is slightly spread out, so we're going to do one more band inversion, give me a little bit of a break. I'm going to ride on board with Andrei Botecher. He's currently chasing down Sebastian Schmalenbach. Not able to really close too much, unfortunately. Last time around, Sebastian doing a 7:53.5. Andrei only able to do a 53.4, so only closing by half a tenth that lap. So this is a good fight, and currently both of these drivers putting in very similar type of laps, and it's going to come down to the wire at this type of rate. So here we go. Let's go for a lap on board with the Williams Esport Fanatic driver of Andrei Botecher. its pit stop times. While we were in that fan immersion little break, Andre Botescher in the Williams Esport Fanatic car now back into first position. Radical Online Track Racer car and the Williams Esports BenQ car both having to come down pit lane. There is some battling happening in your GT3 cars right now. Maxime Briand running in third position, and if we take a look at the rear view mirror, or rear view that he will have right now, you can see that is Victor Predio in that S2V Esports car. Two BMWs about to go fighting fairly hard right now. Some more battling that is happening further in the field. We'll quickly just update you on some different battles happening since we had that little break. Lars Ball in fourth place right now. He's fighting with Audrius Valentigis, up 7 places so far, so you can see just the run that these guys get with the draft. Maybe even running a little bit wide, trying to find the run at the right place, make sure that he's coming alongside, pulling alongside Lars Ball at the right time, as he uses the bumper a little bit. Oh, that was close. He's apparently not trying to make the move happen here, but just being smart. Some other battling happening a little further back. You have Joni Hagner sitting in third place. And behind him, you've got the SimRC.de Carbon car. And also, Juan Iglesias now caught back up to that SimRC car. Lost quite a lot of time in traffic a bit earlier, and we were watching on board there. But we've got a three-way fight for third here in class. As they come around to take the VLN shortcut. I'm not sure. Let's see if we can pull up when these drivers last came down pit lane. So based on those numbers, we are just a few laps away from pit stops. Maybe Tom Valentini or Juan Iglesias, having been in the draft a little further back, are able to have saved a little bit more fuel. Maybe they can extend this stint one extra lap. You can see just how much fog there really is, guys. When we go to some of these really far views, you don't have much visibility at all. A little closer, these guys have much better visibilities in the cockpit. Let's run on board, in fact, with Tom Valentini as he looks to the inside, potentially, of Joni Hagner. Getting very close as they enter the Nordschleife. You can see these cars fairly soft in their suspension setup. They do bounce quite a bit more than you would expect compared to a GT3 car as well. They do bounce quite a lot. Not a problem there. You can see him bouncing and still getting decent drive off some of these corners. These curves here at the Nordschleife are very, very high. There are a lot of cars you would not want to touch these curves with. Tom Valentini really willing to use these curves in his SimRC.de Carbon Porsche 718 Cayman. As they run up towards Flugplatz right now. You can see there's a little bit of understeer being behind Joni Hagner, but it's not that bad. Tom Valentini able to run the normal line without compromising his speed too much. See if we can find another shot that will work nicely here to show the battle. As they come down. Oh, Joni Hagner making a small mistake there. Tom Valentini getting very close as they work their way downhill now through the compressions. And they're going to go down all the way into Adenauer Forest. We're going to now switch back to a TV view so you can see some dust and dirt being thrown up there. They reach the bottom of the hill, reach the big compression, and now start climbing again. Slowing the cars down here now, going from almost flat out to almost a first gear corner. And Hagner leading this little group around. You can see he's got clean air in front of him, nothing in front to look at or worry about, no traffic close enough to make him think about where he next needs to pass them. Yoni Hagner now only concerned about the 2 drivers he sees in his rear view mirror. Weather is still keeping quite constant, guys. A few hours and 23 minutes are done. We're coming up almost 90 minutes left to go. Some of your gaps have been kind of changing. Let's go and do a quick race update. Current race leader overall, Andrei Botecher in the Williams Esport Fanatic entry. His teammate qualified second on the grid, but due to some issues to their primary car, the Williams Esport BenQ car, they have inherited the lead of the race and are going to be hoping to take this all the way to the end. 4 seconds behind them, you got Walkenhorst Motorsport at Scott Michaels, still in that BMW, the best of the BMWs right now. He's up 5 places from his starting position. And he is going to be very happy with the position that he's in. He's going to have to be thinking about the possibility of maybe even a race win here. But we will wait and see how things do play out in the end. Then you have the first Movano car. That is Maxime Brian moving up 1 place from their starting spot. They've shown good pace throughout the race, but they are being closely followed right now by the S2V Esports car, currently driven by Victor Predio. S2V Esports, one of the teams to use the fuel strategy to their advantage, the pit strategy, not taking tires in the first round of pit stops, and able to jump quite a few cars using that and stick close to this front group. Then, as we were talking about, Alex Arana was driving the Williams Esports BenQ car when they had a small incident. He has since handed the car off to Agustin Canapino, and Agustin is working on trying to minimize the impact of that crash. Currently sitting in 5th, although slightly alternate fuel strategy. We're going to have to wait and see at the end of the race if slightly shorter fuel time is going to help them jump some of these cars in front. They're only 6 seconds behind S2V Esports in front, and they might even be thinking about a potential 3rd, only 10 seconds behind that Movano car. The Movano car that qualified in 3rd position in front of his teammate was actually the 334, who was originally driven by Dion Fallio, currently being driven by Tommaso Carla. Apologies for some of my pronunciation, guys. I'm starting to get a bit tired and my voice is getting a bit weak. It's getting a bit worse. But Movano having a bit of a struggle so far in this race, down 3 places. They'll be looking to come back strong with 90 minutes left to go. Sebastian Schmalenbach is your leading Radicals Online track racer, or Radicals Online driver. The other Radicals Online GT3, driven by Fabrice Cornelis, the Radicals Online Side 6-Ways car, retiring from this car many laps ago. DV1 Trident currently in the car is Victor Smolikak. At one point in the opening stint, Mirko Bertolotti, the Lamborghini factory driver, was actually driving that car, and they are still puttering around in 8th place, not showing the greatest strength in terms of performance, pure performance. Doing good to have a clean race and not be involved in any incident, and that's what you want in some of these longer races. So that will be your your GT3 class. Let's now move back to your 911 Cup class. HM Engineering, Kieran Harrison has taken over the car from Maxime. He now leads by 7 seconds, and Asher Racing having to come back into pit lane, I believe. Now 16 seconds behind the leader. Some drama for Martin Asher, not exactly sure what happened. Then in 4th place, Radicals Online. They are 47 seconds behind the leader with Team Tortuga. Robert Harris still in the car there, and he's pushing Uzi Castor, trying to make the Radicals Online driver make a mistake. Marcus Girac is in the car for Alpine Eagle Racing Black. He's followed a minute behind by Peter Mikus, who has the Manatee Racing Purple car with Matthias Dehene in there. A few seconds behind, and then almost 10 seconds behind that, you have the Optimal Sim Racing Red. Kevin Genzo is your driver in that car. You have a few more timers in this class as well, but still 9 cars appear to be circulating on track. Moving back to your GT4 class now, it is still Patrick Hahn out front, but the gap slowly coming down. Sorg Rennsports Esport, now Christian Bug still in that car, only 10 seconds behind. And I believe that these cars are maybe only 2 laps away from their pit stop. SimRC.de Carbon still battling hard with Glacier Racing and Dream Factory Paneco. But third place on the podium, SimRC and Glacier Racing actually, still swapping back and forth. So let's go ahead. And as we switch, there's a big crash and 2 cars are out. That is Sim Racing, DE Carbon, and Juan Iglesias, I believe. I believe as they were coming around the last corner, there was a crash there, and we're going to have to go back and take a look at this. Let's see if we can ride on board. Right on board with Juan Iglesias. You can see Yoni Hagner and Tom Valentini go side by side. Tom Valentini backing out of the corner, and Juan Iglesias unfortunately not reading that situation totally 100% correctly and causing the incident there, in my opinion. I believe Tom Valentini straight Alt F4ing out of the session. That car not willing to risk any further damage at that time. But Juan Iglesias did, in fact, get back down onto pit lane. Let's go back and watch this one more time. Bit hard to tell from with all this fog, but you can see the car, SimRC car, just kind of back out a little bit. And Juan Iglesias not reading the situation fast enough. And that will promote Yoni Hagner into third position without any type of battle now. Juan Iglesias out of pit lane with the damage repaired, but the big winner, Yoni Hagner, and also Paolo Toppi up into fourth position now. Do have a few cars on pit lane in the GT4 class. Unfortunately, attrition in this class still a big factor. And we're going to have a guest joining us right about now. Francisco, can you hear us? Hello. How are you doing, Francisco? Which split are you in this race?
We are in sixth split. I've never been too low in my life.
So the first time that... Oh, I think someone else has crashed in this session. Let's go take a look. Tom Valentini was coming out of pit lane. And loses the rear of the car totally by himself. Very unfortunate. Sorry, Fran, getting back to the topic at hand. How is your race going? Fifth split? You're driving in the TCR class, I believe. How's it going?
Yeah, sixth split. We are P1 at this moment. I left the car in P1. JB took the car in P2, but he made a magnificent movement in the first or second lap, so we are leading.
So Team Artifact is currently leading their TCR race. How many did you do? 2 stints? How did your stints go? Did you have any big drama?
Oh yeah, we are full of drama in this split. I overtook 2 GT4 in the first or second lap. They were super slow. Some of them crashed in front of us, so ton of drama.
And so this is the first official TCR race with at the Nurburgring, VLN race. How was the multi-class traffic for you? How many different classes did you actually have in your split?
We have all classes in this split, but I think all Mazda are dead because we have only overtaken 4 or 5, and they are like 11 or 12.
So just to confirm, you say you have all the different classes in your split?
Yep.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing. Great participation for this first race of the Nurburgring Endurance Series, then.
Yeah. But I want to be in high-gear splits.
Well, it sounds like you're going to need to do some more racing then to get your I rating up. What's your I rating right now, Fran?
Close to 3,000.
So 3,000. I believe the strength of field in the TCR class was close to some 5,000 I rating, so that's what you have to now aim towards.
I must be pro.
Yes, you must be pro, or we need to just revert back to splitting by qualifying.
Yeah, I think the new qualifying system isn't working at this moment because we can see how the TCR leaders we are fighting against GT4. Now that we have done all cheating, we are a bit separated, but the first hour was horrible. We had the same pace than GT4.
That's something I mentioned at the start of the broadcast for this top split. Unfortunately for us, the class separation has been good enough, but that was something that I was worried about. When you were in that situation, how hard were those GT4 cars trying to fight to not let you by?
I flashed him. No, but it's too hard because, you know, they have better top speed. We have better braking and corner speed, so you must trust the other car to let you by. But it's a horrible situation.
Understood. Well, Fran, thank you for joining us. Talk quickly about your race. Good luck to David for the remaining 90 minutes. Hopefully he can bring it home in the win, and we will get our first win of the season in the first race. So good luck.
I hope we will win. I will close the race, so I'm a bit nervous.
Okay, well, so you're going to get back in the car then, so all the pressure is on you, so no pressure. Your team owner is putting no pressure on you whatsoever.
I hope I'll win my first Belgian race. I haven't been in the top 3 for years. I think the last time was 3 or 4 years ago when I raced Gt3 in a low split. And I think I did a pole. I finished third. And today was close to get the pole again.
Well, your first official VLN race, or I should call it the Nurburgring Endurance Series, your first ever official race with your new team, so I'm very glad that it's going so well so far, so good luck.
Thank you, Arjuna, and thank you for your work.
Bye-bye. So there we go, that was my teammate Francisco Jose Romero. He is in one of the lower splits currently leading their TCR class, and we ride on board with your closest TCR battle right now. In front, it's Ordrius Valentigius, and he's trying to pull away from Lars Boll here. Ordrius is up 8 places this race, having an absolutely fantastic performance so far. And he's going to be hoping to hold on to this position. I don't think he's going to really think about challenging Stilian Chepelevsky in front of him. The Apex Racing team driver slowly slipping away from the guys in front. George Simmons showing a little bit more pace than Stilian is right now, but I do think that Stilian still got enough pace to hold on to that 3rd place without any major issues. So out front though, in your fastest class, your GT3 class, let's take a look at your pole position man who's slowly working his way back through the field. Alex Arana no longer in the car. He handed off to Augustin Canapino quite a while ago. Augustin has now closed that gap down to 20 seconds, so very interesting to see how the pit strategy is going to play out from here. I believe that Augustin is going to need to come in next time around, and that is going to probably leave him needing one more stop, I think, or at least more fuel compared to the Williams Esport Fanatic driver of Andrew Botech are currently in the car as Augustin Canapino goes down the inside of Tim Greven. And then really, guys, there's just not much on-track action happening right now. Most cars separated by quite a few seconds. We do now, though, we are starting to have more and more retirements for the race. So 2 retirements in your GT3 class, for example. Ronnie Nunez no longer out on track, I believe. As we just watched Alex Simonich in that Vendevel Sim Racing yellow car being passed by, I believe that was Sebastian Smallen back, putting him one more lap down. But all your TCR cars do seem to still be running. It's in your Mazda where we do have quite a few retirements. It appears to be 3 retirements right now. So 3 retirements in this Mazda MX-5 class, then in your GT4 class. You have a huge number of this. That might be 5 whole retirements right now. We've seen quite a few incidents. Patrick Hahn taking a lot of curb there as we ride on board. The gap behind, though, let's point that out. It is now 6 seconds. Patrick Hahn being closed in. Christian Bug in that Sorg Red Sports Esports car, very slowly chipping away It's not even slow at this point. 4 seconds over the last 2 laps. This is going to be one story to watch as we head towards the last hour of the race. Patrick Hahn, he's been leading the majority of this race, especially, he's been leading basically when Carl Jansen got that damage, and now I'm not sure exactly what's happening. I don't see any damage on his car. That would be slowing him down too much, as I tried to find the right camera angle there, but Patrick Hahn definitely not happy with his current race situation. We're going to switch though. There's other battles happening. Kieran Harrison now just went off track. But, sorry, excuse me guys, just give me 1 second. Unfortunately guys, my voice is starting to give up a little bit. Not used to broadcasting like this, and as the sole commentator, I've had to do an awful lot of talking. Unfortunately, I might actually have to stop, guys, because this is not... I want to keep doing these broadcasts. I don't want to not be able to talk for the next week, but in your 911 Cup class, Kieran Harrison for HM Engineering has got back the lead of the race after Martin Asher having some issues in pit lane. Andreas Dahl in the Burst Esport car, currently running in 2nd place. 3 seconds behind him, though, that is where Martin Asher is, and Martin Asher will be looking to get back to 2nd place, where he ran for, at least he was running in 1st for most of this race, but he definitely will be thinking that he has the pace, similar kind of pace to Kieran Harrison in that 1st position car. Burst Esports not really showing race-winning performance yet in this race. They're doing a good job here to hang close enough to the back of Kieran Harrison. But Anders Dahl, who took over this car, lost almost 2 seconds to Kieran Harrison on that last lap. So something just to keep an eye out for. These guys are fighting hard. I think Martin Asher is pushing hard, trying to close. I could hear him sliding the tires as he came around the Flugplatz corner. Switch back to Martin Asher, just right on board with him. You can see just how hard he is pushing. As they come over the hill, coming over to Schroudenkrautz. What we will do though is quickly switch back to this battle. Lars Ball and Audrius Valentidis are still fighting quite hard. Lars Ball right on his rear bunch for now as they enter the start-finish straight. He's not close enough, I don't think, to really try ascend into turn 1, but Lars has shown some patience so far. Maybe his strategy here is just to maybe work with the fuel numbers. We will see how it works, but he's looking to the inside here. Audrius is lifting. I think both of these guys realize that they lose less time if they lift and let them by with the amount of draft. Excuse me. As Tommaso Kalsa currently entering pit lane in the Movano car. Interesting to note, Andre Bocher and the other Movano car still out there, so able to go 1 lap longer. And we do have a crash in the background, so let's go ahead and I'm trying to get there. There we go. Here we go. We're right on board with Iago Saxo. Running 8th in your MX-5 class, just losing the rear end and unable to save it before he hits the barrier. Fortunately, though, might not have too much damage there. He already did have some damage to that front bumper, but small incident for Iago, not the best of race for him so far. And if you do want to follow him, you can follow him on Twitch, twitch.tv/SaxoGamingTV. And maybe go and talk to him about how his race is going so far. Let's switch back though. Lars Ball in front of Audrius right now as they head towards the chicane and back onto the Nordschleife for one more time. Very bright pink car of Lars Ball that will ride from the nose cam of Audrius as they head through the first section of the Nordschleife, working their way toward the Hatzenbach. And here just how much they lift. Remember, front wheel drive cars here. The front wheels do both the turning and deliver the power, so a lot of strain being placed on those front tires, and you do need to manage them, make sure you're not overstressing them. And even if you're not overstressing them, if you do try to overdrive them sometimes, you will just go straight. The car does not like turning while having power. Obviously, when you have both the steering and power going through one set of wheels, there is a bit more, you have to figure out your driving style. As we go through the full class, you can actually see the very slight brake and lift there, hugging tight towards the inside now. And this is where Ordrius is going to close up on the rear of Lars Ball. You can see the draft effect helping him out. This might be one place where he has to just lift though, as we go inside the bumper of Lars Ball. Continue to see these guys carry on this battle as they head towards Adenauer Forest. Lots of fog in the air right now. And you can see that lever there. That's actually, I believe, the handbrake that these guys have, which they use for standing starts in these cars. It's a very interesting car. Let's ride actually from the cockpit cam so you can kind of see what these guys see. You can see he's holding it in that rev point right now. Fairly basic cockpit, as you can see. It's a fairly simple JAS. You've got your rev counter and speed, and your rev lights. But that's about it. No fancy second screen like some of your GT3 cars have. And there is some action actually happening in your GT4 class, I believe. Let's go and quickly take a look at that. The action that is happening, it is pit stop action. Patrick Hahn, the leader of the race, 5-second lead over Sorg Rennsports Esports. As everybody, I believe, will come down pit lane this time in this leading group. One car that we'll just take a look at while they sit on pit road, DV1 Triton Racing, the car that Mirko Bortolotti was racing in. You can see it is actually a combo Triton and Audi liveried car, so obviously some factory support here for Mirko Bortolotti, but Dominic Blair now in this car, taking over for what should be the last stint of the race. As Patrick Hahn, you see him exiting pit road right now. So actually two drivers who were able to stay out one more lap longer than that Huber Racing Esports driver were Sorg Rennsport Esports and Glacier Racing. So maybe Sorg Rennsport going to have one less lap of fuel here. That could be as much or as little as 10 liters. That could be a considerable amount of fuel time. Maybe that's going to close the gap from 5 seconds to 3 seconds. But as we enter the last portion of the race, cars making their final stops at this point, things are starting to heat up. Okay guys, I think as we reach the 2 hour and 50-minute point of this race, I might have to stop the stream. Unfortunately, my voice, I don't think it can really take too much more punishment. And I'm not really, with only 3 people watching right now, I really do appreciate you guys tuning in and joining me for what has been a pretty interesting race so far. There's been quite a lot of drama. And I think what we will do is we will stop this for now. And for round 2 of the championship, I will return with this stream. We'll make sure to improve it, make it a little better, try and make sure we can get all 60 cars, work around this technical limitation that we've had to deal with. But what we can also try to do is try to find a few more commentators to join me in the booth. Maybe we can find a rotating crew of commentators throughout the each hour of the race, maybe even get people racing in this series to come and join me in the booth. We had Fran join me, and I tried advertising to get more people to join me in the Winter VLN Discord, where I am currently sat in voice waiting for people to join me to talk. I am very happy to talk to you guys. It would help me not have to talk so much. So what we will do, quickly just take a look at your race info right now again. Remember, this is round 1 of 9. There are 9 races in this series. I'll quickly go and take a look at when the next one is so that I can call it out for you. Your 2 time slots are Sundays at 1 a.m. and 1 p.m. GMT. Your next race is going to be April 12th. We may not be broadcasting that race, unfortunately, as we may be racing that same day in another series, but we will see. But if you don't already follow me on Twitch, please go do that, twitch.tv/ArjunaKankipati. All broadcasts in the future are going to be done on this YouTube channel, so do subscribe. But for just general race streaming, you will see me streaming later today, doing IndyCar preparation for iRacing IndyCar Series at Barber, doing setup work with my team, Powerslide Motorsports. But the stream you've been watching, thank you to all my teammates at Artifact Racing for helping me get this ready. They gave me a lot of data about different classes that I needed. Sound somewhat educated about this. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If there was any feedback you have, please do let me know. It would really help me try to figure out what works better. It is very tough. I hope you guys can appreciate it's such a big track that as one person, it's hard to actually keep an eye on all the storylines while also working the cameras as well. But I think I did a fairly good job. I hope you guys were entertained, and thank you for watching. See you guys next time.